Boys, we just closed a deal with the beer brand of all beer brands.
Are you serious?
Bud Light.
Now, fellas, when we launch with Bud Light, we want to start strong. Something that says why Bussin' with the Boys is the perfect partnership with Bud Light. Ideas. Who's got them?
Well, Bud Light's a beer, right?
Well, obviously, Bud Light's a beer, Mitch.
We drink beer.
Mitch, love the idea. Keep swinging. What other ideas do we have?
I mean, Bud Light's the official beer sponsor of the NFL. You both played the NFL.
Yeah, we did. About a decade.
Yeah, you too?
Bud Light's also an American tradition. Last time I checked, we're all Americans.
Hell yeah, Coop.
And guys, Bud Light starts with BU, just like Bussin starts with BU.
Jared, put your hand down. And we're partnering with Bud Light. Jack, yes, we played football. Yes, we're Americans. Mitch, look at me. Why is Jared even in this meeting? We need an idea that brings sports, the boys, beer, all to life. When people are watching this, they need to feel it. They need to hear it, taste it, smell it. Everything jumping out of the screen. Not these half-ass ideas. We need something that brings it all together.
Hey, Mr. Compton, I think I have an idea.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
If you think about it, Bud Light and Bussin' with the Boys, they already shared the same values. It's in the theme song. Hanging with your boys at the game, tailgating, grilling, catching that UFC pay-per-view. Guys, we love the UFC. Taylor Dana White, that's your boy.
Yeah, he is.
It's about enjoyment made easy. It's about cracking a cold one and reveling in the shared camaraderie that only Bud Light and Bussin' with the Boys and sports can deliver. It's about bringing it all together into a beautifully shared, unique American experience. That's the idea.
And guys, how about Bussin' with the Butts?
Holy shit, Jared, shut the fuck up!
Brother, relax. We're with Bud Light now. Commercial.
Bud Light.
Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light.
Alright, we're good.
Be like,
Bussin' with the boys, hanging with the fellas, betting on a game. No woman's gonna tell us what to do, and I've been over here just drinking beer and making that noise. Baby, I'm hanging with the fellas, bussin' with the boys. Bro.
320.
Steve Rinella, March Madness.
Ladies and
Shop
gentlemen,
Talk.
welcome to another beautiful episode of Bussin' with the Boys, episode 320. A lot of exciting things happening on this podcast, but we got to start with our beautiful presenting sponsor,
Yes.
the FanDuel Sportsbook. Why'd you take that off, Will? Go ahead and rip it.
FanDuel is the #1 sports book in America, fellas. We all know. It is March Madness week. It is time to throw any knowledge you have. Look, if you've come to this podcast for college basketball talk, which I'm sure you haven't, this is where it doesn't really matter this week. This is where you dive in, I just remember the days in high school and middle school, and you're just filling out millions of brackets with the boys. Doesn't matter I've been hearing talks about people going to Vegas to get in the action, whether you're at home, just watching on the couch with the boys, whether you're eating wings, whatever the case is. It is March Madness week.
And-
Bussin' with the boys, we will be streaming on Thursday and Friday the first round. It's our first dive into being in the
Full
trenches
dive.
all day long.
Think of it like a community pool in Bonne Terre, Missouri. You go out there with the boys and you get in the beginning of the pool and it says, do not dive. Well, guess what? The boys are diving in head first.
Delaney's going to be joining the boys. I believe there's some talks of Clay Matthews coming
Rumors.
to join us on Friday.
Beautiful hair.
But we'll be having the boys streaming on Thursday and Friday, the first round of the games, live betting, doing everything with the FanDuel Sportsbook, and we do have some fun and exciting promos. The first one we're going to talk about, the dog of the day. The beauty of the tourney, it's the underdogs. And now with dog of the day, FanDuel is turning the excitement up even higher. If you guys remember last week, their dog of the day, if you had plus 100 odds or longer, you get a 30% profit boost on that dog. Well, this week with the first 2 rounds of the tournament, you bet on the lowest winning seed of the day, and you'll win a share of $1 million in bonus bets. So
It's $1 million.
Let's say you bet on a 14 seed, or myself. I believe I'm looking at McNeese State taking down Clemson. That's McNeese.
No, but
State.
that's a little nickname.
That's the
you
thing.
know
Throw
them.
the-
You know them.
Throw
It's
the
a little
knowledge
nickname.
out the game.
Throw it out.
Yeah, this is about
Enjoy
having
it.
fun.
I like McNeese better than McNeese
Yeah.
anyway.
McNeese
McNeese,
State,
baby.
as a 12 seed, they get an upset. And no other 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 seed wins that day, we will win a share of $1 million in
share.
bonus bets. That's for Thursday, that's for Friday, that's for Saturday and Sunday. FanDuel is the best place to bet on the tournament. Just visit FanDuel.com/Bussin to sign up to America's #1 sportsbook today and back your dog of the day. You can also just download the app.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
A lot of people want to talk about all these different apps that you can sports bet on. There's only one app in the game that's able to do the futures bet.
Oh yeah,
You're able to, if you want to do futures bet.
This
like
is
I'm-
a second. This is
you
a
got-
second little.
You got Michigan going to Sweet 16. You got Arizona making the Elite Eight. You can take all those futures bets and you can parlay them together in one solitary bet. No other sports book's doing that. FanDuel is the only single one, and it's a copycat league. I guarantee in the future there's gonna be a bunch of guys that are also
Yep.
doing the same thing. But right now, the one and only sports book, FanDuel, is doing it for you right now, and I believe.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Great news. Willie C just cooked one up.
Yep. Do you want me to explain it more, or do you want Willie C to tell you what's going on?
I think Will can explain it, and then that would explain it.
Okay, perfect. Mitch.
Okay,
Also,
all right.
real
Mitch has
quick,
got a mustache.
Mitch has got a mustache. He's got a little more confidence in him too. You look good. You look really good, buddy.
So on FanDuel, you can do a parlay on futures for the tournament. So for example, your boy has cooked one up already because I'm thinking like, what is this about? Can I really just take like the top seeds and conservatively place them in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight?
That's
so
always
let
the game
me
is
talk to you for a
conservatively.
second. Auburn, they're a 1 seed. I got them reaching the Elite Eight. Florida to reach the Elite Eight. St. John's to get to the Sweet 16. Duke to get to the Elite Eight. Houston to hit the Sweet 16. Tennessee to reach the Sweet 16. Doesn't matter if I believe any of those teams can win the whole damn thing. But I have that 6-leg parlay on all futures. You put that together, and that parlay is worth plus 808 right now in the sportsbook.
Spicy.
Just
Spicy.
Book
FYI,
it.
people say, "Hey, everybody wants, they want the March Madness to come alive. Like they want to get cute. They want to find all these upsets. How is this tournament going to be chaotic?" But also, people are talking out there. It feels like this is not necessarily a year. You kind of maybe want to keep it simple because these teams that are playing at a high level are playing at such a high level that it almost feels like a no-brainer. Like people talking about like Duke and Auburn, Florida. I got Florida.
Rumor on the street is that Houston might be the best team out there right now.
Dude,
I've been talking to a couple guys and they're saying Houston, hey, I know they're a 1 seed, but people are still sleeping on Houston a little bit.
You know why I like Houston
Tell me.
basketball? Their strength coach.
Yeah?
Yeah, they have a great strength program. Somebody I followed for a very long time, and his name is Alan. What is his last
He's
name?
followed him for a long time. So
I
long,
have,
can't
but
remember his
apparently,
name.
like he hasn't come across my algorithm in a while. And this could be a
'Cause he's
situation.
focused.
Maybe he's somewhere else. But I've started following Houston basketball because of this strength coach. Because
No
he's
shit.
big on like the eccentric work, the triphasic model, and he shows it like on social media. So I was just like, oh. And then when you see Houston kind of getting better and become the program that they've been, I'm not chalking it all up to the strength coach, but I'm thinking like, that's fucking awesome.
That's fucking
Alan-
This doesn't
Alan
need to be
Bishop.
a wait.
Yeah,
what's-
Alan Bishop. Shout out
Alan
the boy
Bishop.
Alan Bishop.
Is that him right there?
Yes.
Handsome boy. Strong.
He'll post the
broad
before and
shoulders.
after photos of like the young freshmen coming in, then shows them at the end of the year, their sophomore year, and the progress pics, and it's like it gets you fired up.
I love that. And the eccentric talk is just a piece of nostalgia for me because it brings me back to Vanderbilt We had that whole summer hitting that French eccentric with Rex.
Yeah, that French
And
contrast
Buddy.
training.
That stuff gets you strong as shit.
Yeah. He'll have the heels lifted, 4 or 5 second eccentric.
Yes.
Just the stuff that he's in the weeds on, and you think in your mind, like based on the surface level knowledge that we have in the strength game, you're like, these basketball players, they're on something special out there.
Get me juiced up. Maybe I want to get under a bar right now doing some French eccentric.
Yes.
But there's some exciting. FanDuel is the best place to bet on the tournament. Just visit fanduel.com/bussin to sign up to America's #1 sportsbook today and back your dog of the day. There's frantic fingers.
Build yourself a future
Frantic fingers just going towards the TV there for a second. I panicked and I just started reading. So thank you, boys. Thank you for that.
Hey, the first thing, because people at the top of this episode, if they're watching on YouTube right now. By the way, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, all of them, make sure you're following and subscribed on all channels. But if you're watching on YouTube, they saw a little special piece at the top of the episode.
Bud Light. Let's give a round of applause for Bud Light. I mean, boys, there is not a stronger partnership or a more aligned partnership than Bud Light and Bussin' with the Boys. If you're in a think tank of Anheuser-Busch, you're like, we need to make a podcast that represents Bud Light in America.
In sports.
Coming together as one cohesive unit. You are realizing that Bussin' with the Boys is the perfect pair.
Yeah.
It's like wine and cheese, baby. It is the perfect.
Yeah. And if you've been at day one, I don't know when we went with the other guys. When we the bus wrapped. But if you've been with us in those first couple of years of Bussin' with the Boys, you know that this bus was a Budweiser bus, a Dale Earnhardt 8 Budweiser bus. And we had the merch drop that, it wasn't like a collab with them, but we had our bow tie merch going.
They allowed us to kind of do it for a little bit because
until we got a little big, and then we got the cease and desist.
Right. So Ajax Turner, who is the regional brand for this area, for Nashville, Tennessee, we'll just say that's the regional brand for Anheuser-Busch. When we first started getting sponsors, whether it was like, a real estate company or this company, we started getting Ajax Turner. We're like, yo, this is serious. So they allowed us to use the B. And for the tier ones, you're listening to the story. You already know how the story goes. We end up getting a little bit bigger.
Yep.
We end up not having Ajax Turner as much anymore. I can't remember why that just didn't work.
We went with Barstool.
We went with Barstool.
Not like that's what went away, but
the sales, essentially our sales went away.
We just had a guy that helped sell us in the very beginning, like one singular guy. Shout out Adam Freudel, but he would help. He would help with these deals with the real estate company, with Ajax Turner when they slid in the DMs. So then when we went with Barstool, our exclusivity is now with Barstool.
Right. The sales, they held the entire sales branch of Bussin' with the Boys. Now going independent, shout out FanDuel for giving us the nudge on that.
Yeah.
We have now been able to go and talk to other people. And then Bud Light for a couple of years now, I met the CEO at Power Slap one time and he's like, hey, we'd love to be with you guys. And obviously who we were in bed with at that time, I didn't want to be I love the other people we were with also.
Yeah.
Great partners, awesome to be around, let us creatively do our own thing. Once there was like an opening, we get on the horn right away and say, hey, Bud Light, do you want to do this? And they were scratching and clawing at the door just to become a part of Bussin' with the Boys. So this is going to be a beautiful partnership.
Yeah. And just getting back to the origin story.
Yes. And it's like, people love to use the sellout game. Hey, you guys are leaving. You guys are selling out. It's like, really, we're getting more back to the roots than we ever have with this bus, as OG as it possibly can be. Because when we got C&D'd by Anheuser-Busch in the beginning, it was like, okay, well, we're not going to do free shout outs. That's like a core value of Bussin' with the Boys.
Yeah, I mean, Budweiser,
it's
Bud Light,
everywhere.
It's all over this bus.
But on the side, it now says Bussin', and
we had to get it repainted. But we had to get it repainted to Bussin' because when we would do the fall tour, go to colleges, they're always like, hey, could we cover up the Budweiser, the alcohol stuff? Because you don't know what colleges are in bed where. So it's like, hey, it's just kind of easier. The free shout out where we just have Budweiser all over the bus.
Just a rolling advertisement for them. Yeah. So yeah, dude, I'm fired up. I'm fired up with the idea of Bud Light, the amount of access that they're going to have for us, the amount of talent they have, whether it's Post Malone, the boy Shane, they have a bunch of people that were allowed to live in their ecosystem a little bit. They have so many great partnerships that are going to allow us to give you people better content. So it seems like a match made in heaven.
Could you imagine if we were on a Bud Light Super Bowl commercial?
I mean, I've told you, we were on the plane to Montana.
Yeah. And
I told you my idea. That could be amazing.
It's a great idea.
Did we say it out loud? A part of me feels like yes, because when it happens and we're not in it, it's like, well, we had that idea first. It kind of goes back to Jason Kelsey doing the Christmas album. We had that idea first. You remembered that idea.
Yeah.
Dude.
Making a Christmas album, we had the idea.
We had that idea. We had that idea. And then it kind of got shelved for a second. Fast forward 1 year later.
Yeah.
Jason Kelsey's going platinum on a Christmas album.
Yeah. Great album, by the way.
It's a great album. Phenomenal. But, you want to say the idea?
Go ahead, man.
Christmas time. Snow is falling in Nashville, Tennessee. Broadway, a staple of Nashville, where all the bachelor and bachelorette parties want to go to, are there enjoying their time. The road's empty. It's vacant even. And now you see a group of Clydesdales marching down with a wagon being pulled by yours truly and Will Compton right next to him. People are looking in awe, seeing these beautiful horses walking down the street. Beers are flying from the wagon. They're being caught by Post Malone, by Shane Gillis, by bachelorette parties, by bachelor parties. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, hell, even Cooper Manning's over there grabbing himself a Bud Light.
I don't think Eli's part of the
He's not part of that.
He's with somebody else.
He's with somebody else. Okay, so he's out. He's out.
with the cartel.
Snow's on the ground. And as you see the wagon pulling away, it just says, "'Tis the season of giving. Bud Light." That's the commercial.
No words, just all action.
None needed. Facial expressions only.
Yeah.
I mean,
Santa flying.
You hear a distant ho ho ho, and then a shooting. Is that a shooting star? No, it's Christmas time. You hear some jingles in the background. That's all you hear. How beautiful is that?
That's a good one.
Something to think about.
You know, Bud Light's listening right now.
They've got to listen.
Yeah, this is the launch.
Yeah. And if they're the partners they claim to be, we're going to be in that commercial, right?
Yeah.
Those are the things that are going to happen.
Get us in that goddamn commercial.
Let's be in the fucking commercials, man. So yeah, really exciting stuff happened with Bussin' with the Boys. We just got back from Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an incredible experience. Went to hunt coyotes, didn't see one. Actually, that's a lie. I saw one.
We saw coyotes. We didn't get one. That'll be broken down. It looks like Jack's ready to question the ability.
Jack's ready to say something. What you got,
Steve
Jack?
Rinella, we have an awesome interview with him coming up where we talk about the episode. We have a vlog coming out as well. But yeah, the boys were in Montana for basically 2.5 days, ripping content, hitting the shooting range,
skinning beavers, skinning muskrats,
beavers and muskrat.
Trapping.
Yeah.
By the way, marshes. Just walking through those motherfuckers. It is insane.
4-mile hikes.
It's just crazy. Steve was walking around marshes like it was no big deal. Will double knee shot himself, but on a rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I was in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It got Will just kind of sit on the sidelines for a little bit because Steve was walking around. I don't want to get too much into it, but Steve was like, "Do you guys want to come with me?" And I'm like a little kid, like, "Yeah, Dad, I'll come." And Will was like,
"Will you go?" And I was like, "You guys got it." And he starts laughing.
Smart too. Because I'm telling Steve a story.
Sidelines.
I'm telling Steve a story that I know he doesn't give two shits about, and all of a sudden I'm up to my crotch in marsh, just realizing there's a sunken little hole there.
Yeah.
So these men move different. They walk different than us, but they were great as always.
Jack, you had a question?
If you guys are going to talk about in the podcast hunting and everything, then I don't want to give anything away. But I've heard rumors swirling. Someone, I don't know who it is, missed a shot on a coyote. Pretty close. But
everything's got to listen to the podcast. There's a great story behind it.
I don't know anything. I'm just curious, so I will be listening because we weren't there. It was you guys and JP, so I'm excited. And Mitch was saying how this podcast is amazing. So
podcast is
he was
awesome.
checking it out for the first time editing it. Yeah,
it was really good.
Dude, he's a stud, man. Very fascinating individual. Like cutting his teeth in through writing and everything else. You can just hear it when he's storytelling.
He's literally like one of the most interesting man in the world to me because like we're not privy to that type of world. Like we're just sports athletes, dumb athletes, and then you go out here and then he's like talking about like, oh, you hear a bird? Yep, that's this one, just right over there.
Just crazy.
And it's like the people like that their brains can operate like that quickly. Like, oh, I know exactly what bird that is. I know exactly where it is.
How old it is.
Yeah.
If it's trying to mate, what the call's like. This dude's one step away from speaking animal.
Dude, it's so cool. It is so cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun episode.
The cool thing about Steve too is that he'll sit there and you'll just be standing in a random spot and he'll point to something and just tell you a story and then give you historical background and factual evidence on that little spot right there. You had one in the marsh. There was one over by the otters, but all that I'll get into the podcast. It's an incredible podcast. I think you guys are going to love.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But should we jump back to March Madness? Should we dive
absolutely.
in a little bit?
Absolutely.
So you got a spicy little parlay that's plus 808 right now.
Right now. I don't know what I'm going to add to it. I will let the people know what my parlay is going to be, but I'm going to have a very exciting futures parlay that we'll be getting in on. And I am a massive fan. I started doing it last year. I'm a massive fan when we are streaming, getting us involved with which team's going to score
First to 10.
First to 10.
Yeah. Dude, so this will be Thursday and Friday will be my first time truly digesting the March Madness tournament, diving in, putting the bets in, all that. So like, I'm ready to fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, dude.
I'm ready to listen to the boys, listen to the chat. Hey, what are we doing? Where are we going? I'm willing to throw away all of the money.
Because it's like right when tip-off happens, the excitement is at its peak. It's like, it's here. March Madness, the tournament is starting today. What are we doing all day long? Yeah. And you're so high when that first tip-off happens, and you're kind of looking around. You're like, when's the second game coming? They're like, oh, that one will be in like an hour or two. And you're kind of just sitting there watching the game, and you got your first bet out there, whether it's one team to cover. And I'm sitting there like, okay, so we gotta wait 2 full halves for one of these things to shake out.
2 full halves.
And I'm sitting there with Ryan Whitney. And I want to say Dave got in on it too, and Big Cat, but we started doing these first to 10 bets. So I'm like, hey, how do we get the juices flowing even faster? Like when another tip-off happens, like what's a live bet that we can hit? So it'd be like first to 10s just to give you like a little juice up front. So you're not like waiting for the end of every game to see if it's going to, you pick the over, the under, the spread, whatever it is. Like the live bets in college basketball is a lot of fun. And like when we were back in, we'd go to state basketball in Missouri. We'd go up to Columbia at Mizzou, and we'd sit there and we'd have like rolls of quarters and dollars and just bet like throughout the game, like if guy's going to hit the free throw, hey, who's going to score, and it's going to be a 3, and you just be betting. So the live bets during March Madness is a lot of fun.
The way I envision the live bets is like the movie Focus with Will Smith when he's at the Super Bowl. And he's just sitting there with that really rich Asian guy going back and forth. The suspense in that movie, how I was feeling, just being a third party in it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be the first party individual, and I hope to God I'm Will Smith in the situation at the end of it. Winning hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
There's so much going on in the first round, second round, that there really is no way to prep other than have your phone charged and your money ready.
And your money, and just be ready.
Yeah.
Have that thing on the FanDuel where you have to, it sits there and be like, hey, just so you know, you've been on here for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it gives you little updates. Like you've been on here for 25 minutes, just making
Continue
sure you're
session.
okay.
Yeah.
It's that
You're out
Netflix
for
are
too
you still
long, log
watching?
back in. You're like, damn it.
Dude.
And don't forget, I know we'll jump into like the full bracket, but those first play-in games are are today. On Tuesday,
they start today.
The 18th.
Oh, yes. I forget
Tuesday,
we're shooting on
the
Monday
18th.
right now.
So, okay.
Play-in games, yes. You get in on some action there just to start spicing it up a little bit.
So we can talk about those if we want. Kind of flex our muscles, show them we
know what we're talking about.
We don't, though.
We don't.
Hey, we don't.
Like, hey, let's flex our muscles on Alabama State and St. Francis. I'm thinking like it'd be fun to see St. Francis win because St. Francis County is where I grew up. So I'm just thinking like, all right.
Oh, that's in Missouri?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. St. Francis and Philly.
Yeah, St. Francis County is in Missouri.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a...
Like, hey, I'm rooting for this team.
It's a name association. Name association.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with right here. By the way, if Mitch was not here, I would have thought we're rooting for a team in Bonterre, Missouri.
Okay. That's what makes sure, because I'm thinking, I know it's not.
No. Thank you, Mitch. New mustache Mitch is different, man. He's saving this podcast. Because I'm sitting there like, fuck yeah, dude, Missouri. We're going hard for them.
There's one thing, one of these play-in games, if Texas wins, that'll be the 14th SEC team in the tournament, setting a new record.
Which is nuts, man.
It's crazy.
So we kind of want Texas to win because we need the SEC to have something, right?
Sure.
I think
Xavier's like a blue blood.
But
but they have
it.
basketball conference. We need them to step it up because you guys are.
It is apparently the first time, and I don't know how long, that if North Carolina loses, it'll be their first time not making the tournament since God knows how long.
Yeah, and there's some rumblings right there that they are they're being sneaky boys. Apparently, maybe
somebody's in bed with somebody in the committee that
Bill Belichick's working his magic in the basketball court already, huh?
Yeah.
Just based on the two names, who are you taking in this game? American or Mount St. Mary's?
American.
Bud Light.
Are you talking about?
Bud Light.
Are you talking about just like
stars.
the name of the school?
That's what I said. Just based off these two names.
Okay. And then we heard yours, Mitch. I hope the mic caught it.
No, yeah, Mount St. Mary's is kind of like they've been making some runs.
They're a wagon.
They're a bit of a wagon. They had this dude like a couple years ago.
They haven't seen America yet, though.
He was like 5'8".
Mount St. Mary's hasn't ran into America yet. Fact check me on that. I don't know if they played.
Who's going to play Houston? Mount St. Mary's is a bit of a wagon. I do have right now, as of right now, I have 6 circled upsets. Which I don't know if you consider a 9 upsetting an 8 like an upset, but they are underdogs. But here's what I have. I have Creighton over Louisville, New Mexico over Marquette. Arkansas over Kansas. Okay. And I'm leaning like, hey, the SEC's got teams. Arkansas over Kansas.
I like that one a lot.
Baylor over Mississippi State. VCU over BYU. Yep. I just saw the way VCU was fired up at the end of their tournament. I'm like, oh, I would love to see him do a little bit of damage in the first round. And then McNeasy.
Shout out.
Hell yeah, dude. No.
It's not even state.
McNeasy.
It's McNeasy.
McNeasy in that thing.
McNeasy over Clemson.
Come on.
All right. I noticed you didn't have my boys in there. That's nice.
I thought about it, but I'm like, you know what? I can't. Because logically, it does seem like Michigan's in a tough spot with their draw based on the way everybody else has been talking.
Right, that 5, 6, 7 seed, right? They're always in a tough situation.
Yeah, having to play UC San Diego. But apparently UC San Diego is like a pretty good team. Not just
they've won 15 straight.
And they're a beast on defense. They're going to be a tough 12 seed for y'all to play.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. Who have they played?
UC,
right? UC this, UC that.
UC Los Angeles.
Yeah. UC Encinitas.
UCDs.
UC Sacramento.
UC Los Angeles is UCLA. Did you mean to say that?
I was just saying like UC, and then I'm thinking of California.
Hey, Mustache Mitch strikes again. 10 minutes in the pod.
Just thinking of
California. Why is he owning us right now?
UC Berkeley.
That is a tough
Cal Berkeley.
That's a tough little area for Michigan.
Yeah, but can I see your little sheet real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. It does have all the spreads on it as well.
Yeah, so
because right now
it's scary.
Michigan's
not
only
knowing what I know that Michigan won the Big Ten tournament. So like, shout out us once again. Like Michigan, you could say what you want about my fandom, about Michigan. People hate on Michigan. It's a good sports school. It is.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Okay, good.
But again,
but then you got A&M and Yale after that.
But facing a 12
and then you got
and they're only
then you got Auburn possibly after that.
2.5 point favorites against UC
San Diego.
Creighton, yeah, you're in a tough spot.
Tough spot, but smooth waters never made a skilled sailor.
Oh, there you go.
And so my boys are going to be ready.
Quick little shout out to the hometown Lipscomb in the tournament.
Yeah,
that's got
big time shout out Lipscomb.
Shout out
and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's in there.
Oh yeah,
Vandy boys. Shout out the Vandy boys.
Do you guys have some upsets that you like in round one?
I did just want to highlight one of yours, which was the Kansas-Arkansas game. I've been watching Big 12 basketball like pretty closely this year. I've watched it closer in years past, but I think Kansas is extremely overrated. I've seen them lose several in-conference games. They started the year very highly ranked. They've fallen out of the top 25 since, but extremely vulnerable Kansas team. So I actually really like that Arkansas to beat Kansas in the first round. I love that pick.
Do you have any other? Jack, I know you guys who are in the weeds more with college basketball.
I feel like Drake against Mizzou. I mean, just strictly looking at record. I mean, Drake is 30-3, and where's Missouri?
See, and I love that. Sometimes it's just like, hey, look at the
Missouri,
record.
Yeah, look
Look at the record and make a pick.
Yeah, you like Drake over Missouri.
Correct.
But again, Mizzou's in the SEC
for sure. But 22-11 and 30-3, like Drake. Say Drake, like.
I hear you like Dubs.
Yeah, I feel like they're low key, like not really a blue blood, but they've been in the tournament sometimes, and like they're a little feisty. They can
get spicy.
Drake's a feisty team. What conference are they in?
I want to say like Big East or American.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Big East sounds more right.
Yeah.
I kind of like your VCU pick.
For sure.
I did watch the end of that game.
Yeah. They were fired up.
Hit the free throws, kind of sets in. Dub, going to the tournament. I don't know. Momentum. It'll be pretty sweet. But there's a lot. It's March. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. I can't wait to see what storylines like come of it. It's like last year, that cat who was dropping threes from Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
Remember him?
Yep.
Just going nuts. Like the peak of his life, looking like JJ Redick throughout all of March Madness. I mean, he was.
UC Oakland.
We only know one basketball player. It's JJ Redick.
Yeah, the best three-point
Any white basketball player Will sees now is JJ Redick.
Yeah.
But draining threes like that, like, bro, it was iconic watching this dude work. Oakland, they were like,
They were like a 16 or 15.
Yeah, they were a very low seed.
If you had to pick out of any of the 1 seeds to get upset, who do you think it would be?
To get upset? Mm-hmm. Let me see what I got here.
Auburn had a tough draw in the SEC tournament, no?
They had their last like 4 games haven't gone as well as they wanted them to.
Mm.
So that's
I feel
either
like
a good
momentum's
thing
a big
for
thing
them.
in all sports.
Yeah, I mean, it's either a good thing to have a bad taste in your mouth, or it's bad for
Yeah, they
momentum.
can go on that Ohio State type run.
Right.
Where they start putting points in everybody. It's Auburn, Houston, Duke, and Florida.
Yeah.
Florida.
I think out of those, I have, again, no clue. And I'm a square. I have all number ones in the Final Four.
Auburn.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple.
method, David.
Kiss method.
One thing I do know about Auburn is they're on average they're one of the oldest teams in the NCAA. They have a lot of 5th-year, 6th-year guys. They're very athletic. They're a really strong number one. But some of those play-in teams, those 16th seed play-in teams, those are the ones to watch because they get that first win under their belt. And then they go up against that 1 seed. They're not playing cold. They're coming in a little hot because they just played recently.
Mm.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
with,
the bye week.
with the
bye week
experience
mentality.
that you were talking about with Auburn,
True.
if I had any, I would say either Houston or Duke.
Why?
Because I know that Alabama can be very good, and I know that Wisconsin can get really spicy.
Cooper Flagg too hurt his
Questionable.
really bad ankle sprain. I think it was in the semifinal.
Mm-hmm.
So he gonna come in hobbled. He's like their best. He's like overall.
But they're talking
number
about
one
him
overall.
just missing this
incredible.
first, maybe second round.
Right.
But yeah,
But
exactly.
but
All
you're
weekend,
one and
yeah.
done around here.
Right, but if they're without that cat for it would be against Arizona or Oregon.
But look who they're
Right?
playing in
No,
the
no, no,
second
no,
round.
Baylor.
Look who they're playing in the second
Yeah,
Come
Baylor.
on.
You're right, Baylor.
Come on.
And don't be playing Baylor hurt, banged up.
And then I think
The Bears
Houston
get
too,
you.
Come on.
because on the other side you got Tennessee, Kentucky, and I never sleep on Illinois. You know, Will Compton does not sleep.
Will
on
Compton
Fighting.
does not
You know,
sleep on the Fighting Illini.
That's a good
ever.
football team right there.
That's a good football. That's a good ball club.
Good run game.
I
and
mean,
defense.
they handled Michigan too.
You're thinking
yeah.
this is going to be a well-coached ball team.
Bielema will have them ready.
Yeah, Bielema
Yeah.
will have Illinois ready for March
Yeah.
Madness.
See, I like Florida a lot. Here's how impressionable I am.
Dude, they're
I don't
so
know very much
athletic.
about basketball at all. We get out of the car this morning at a specific spot. We won't say where because we were shooting a little custom ad. Garrett says he goes to the game, Florida versus Alabama. And Florida went in a flow state mode where they would just walk up on a 3 and drain them
Yes.
over and over and over again to the point where G's telling me he's at first mad and now he's like, I got to just watch greatness, even though they're beating up on my
Yeah.
own team. So now I just feel like, all right, Florida's going to make
And
it.
they got some big white boys
Yes, they
down
do.
low, and they're very good. They're very active. They're long. Like, yeah, Florida
have
seems very athletic when
Depth
you're
at
watching them
every
play.
position, and they are physical.
Yeah.
Those boys down low can ball.
I heard another physical team in the Southwest region area, Arizona. Them boys can get physical in there. I was talking to a couple of homers from there.
I was going to
They're
say,
like,
you
don't
might just be
sleep
in
on Arizona.
Arizona group chat.
Yeah, little Arizona boys were out there, obviously extremely biased. We're like, don't be surprised when they beat Duke.
It's just like Sherm before we came on the bus. He's like, if we can knock off Duke, we could win the whole thing. And I'm like, well, yeah.
Who's we? Who's we?
Baylor.
Yeah, okay, you understand why I'm a little confused, right? Based on how many teams you have.
But Baylor
for
is
sure.
his origin story. Oh, your origin, right?
His origin
Origin
technically is
story,
not.
yes,
That's where he went to college.
Went to and graduated from Baylor University.
Yeah.
Someone
Yes.
here. It might be
Yeah,
it might be
someone's at the
coffees.
door. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, it's coffee.
Here's a question for you,
What's that?
You
Sherm.
go grab the show?
I'll go grab it.
Okay, thank you, buddy.
Okay, we'll wait on that question.
was
Jack,
your-
how are you feeling about Tennessee?
I don't know, man. We didn't have a great final conclusion in the SEC tournament, but it's always good. I think we are in a really good spot out of the bracket. I do like it, but the whole problem with Tennessee is we are like, we'll make it to the Elite Eight and then we lose. So hopefully Rick Barnes can get it done. I think Rick Barnes is going to leave after this year. He might retire because we have like 6 of our seniors that are leaving. So I think he's going to kind of fade out with them, but I don't know. Rick Barnes, one of the most elite college basketball coaches that's been out there, and he's been in the game for almost 3 decades. But he plays a very older style of basketball in like a very evolved league. So I don't know. I hope we go deep, but you just never know. This is March, so anything could happen.
Yeah. And another storyline I enjoy too is Kentucky, just because of that meme that old buddy gave us. You know, where he had he made the face. What do they call it?
The mean mug?
Yeah, the mean mug.
He bit his lip.
Yeah, he bit his lip. He was mean mugging hardcore.
I see you guys both have taken Kentucky to beat Tennessee.
How'd you see mine?
I know. I see him.
And you want to know why?
Sure.
The Kentucky-Tennessee game was the last one I kind of filled out in the Sweet 16, and I'm looking around and I'm realizing like how much of a square I kind of am picking all the my upsets are like in the first round, none really in the second. And so when I was looking at Tennessee, Kentucky, I'm looking, okay, 3 seed versus 2 seed. I kind of looked at you guys playing this year. It seems like Kentucky got you one time.
And we got them.
You're right.
Most recently.
So I was thinking like the toss up, thinking the toss up is like, okay, I'm just going to go Kentucky here to get a 3 seed.
Follow the patterns.
Yeah. Like,
this is a game of Baccarat. I'm understanding. You just look at the screen.
Instead of 1-2s across the board, I also have, and this is what I was going to ask you, Sherm, because I know you're big into the Big 12. Texas Tech is also like one of your teams. They're a 3 seed. I have them beating St. John in the Sweet 16, which I'd love to see St. John go far because of Rick Pitino. I love like following all their stuff, the content that they've been creating with him. But it does seem like Texas Tech could be a bit of a wagon.
To sell Tech, they are unreal beyond the 3-point line. They actually knocked out Baylor in the Big 12 tournament by making 12 threes in the first 8 minutes of the game. When they get hot, they get really, really hot, but their most important piece, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's JT Toppin. He's Big 12 Player of the Year. What
a last name.
He is the Texas Tech big man, and that dude underneath the basket, that goes across the board, by the way. If you are similar to me, where you are an absolute casual in college hoops, a great way to break down if a team has the ability to go far is either 1, are they hot from beyond the 3-point mark, or 2, do they have a nasty big man that no one can guard? And that's how a lot of these schools that are the higher seeds will make deep runs, because they have one big nasty dude. NC State was a perfect example.
Right, last year. No, that was last year. And Purdue.
If you just have one big nasty that is got soft hands by the hoop, it doesn't matter who they're playing. They can beat anyone, because if that team's missing shots, you know he's getting the rebound on defense. And then offensively, if his team's missing, it's okay. He's going to get some offensive rebounds. He's going to get some fouls. Their better players are going to start fouling out. That's how you win basketball games in a tournament, because you have all the nerves of the tournament. Teams don't usually shoot as well as they do in the regular season. So that's a great way to kind of break it down. If you're a casual to this, and you want to do a bit more research on your gambling, go look up some of these teams, some of these 11, 12, 13, 14 seeds, see if they have a big man. If they have a big man that's putting up crazy numbers all year, that's a team to choose. That's my opinion. And, bet, what do they say? Like, be safe, don't bet too much.
Responsible. Gamble.
Responsible is the word you're looking for.
Bet responsibly.
On the FanDuel Sportsbook.
I'm a podcast producer.
Right.
Responsibly.
This is not real medical advice here.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't prescribe these types of things, is what it is. All right. I like that.
I love the conversation.
Look into the big fellas. The offensive line of the basketball.
Yes. The trenches.
The trench warfare. I love that. I love it.
I love the conversation too, because we're
I know, I'm kind of just kind of following the bouncing ball.
A lot of circles. That's how everybody tries to operate.
And I love that people, essentially we're operating like a one big group chat right now, because there's a bunch of people that are coming to watch our sports podcast, be like, oh, Will and Taylor will have answers. When we sit here and we're like, we don't.
I think people tune in, they know that we don't
have answers.
Yeah. Now, let's see. Yeah, we are going to shock the world.
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity on Thursday, Friday on these streams for people to make some good money. Money going to the site.
I might bring my unit all the way down to $10.
Wow. Why?
Because I won my dog of the day bet with tailing you in Michigan.
Let's go. Shout out the boys. Big
Turn $10 into $29. I might just operate off percentages than the actual dollar amount.
That might be a smart move. And you can have more fun. It's like kind of walk into a casino and you're like, I'm gonna win it all. Then you spend all your money in the first 5 minutes. You're like,
and the thing too with March Madness is there's a lot of opportunity. So if you get in the hole and you're just losing left and right, and you're just like, all right, here's where we get back on it. Next thing you know, you're like, okay, I'm down quite a bit of money.
Sounds like you're speaking from experience.
Last year, I had a very bad percentage. Pretty much all of us did. It was not good. We were bleeding.
While keeping your same unit?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You start flying it around, first to 10, parlay this.
Yeah.
The cat from Oakland, is he going to make this many threes? Like, you start getting into the weeds.
Yeah,
next thing you know, you got 13 bets laying out there for like one game. And you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Or you're like chasing, like, if you're down, like, hey, live bet, you go in at halftime and live bet something else. And you're like, this one's not turning away.
Something about being with a group of guys and live betting. Like with football, like every possession, what's going to happen in this possession?
Right.
We're all kind of like teamed up doing our own thing because it's fun to put the parlays together before the game. But once the game starts, like those things have to either fold or unfold the way they do. With the live betting, it's like you're getting action right then and there.
Yeah.
So it's an automatic endorphin spike left and right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you go home, you're exhausted. Exhausted
What
from
am I?
all of it. Dude.
What did I just do?
Yeah. What did you do?
And I know one thing that that's going to be on the FanDuel Sportsbook too is there's going to be like this. I don't know what it's called. We'd have to dive into what the exact verbiage is, but kind of like a mulligan bet.
Yeah.
So if you have a pick, like say you have Alabama, bet back. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. I don't know if it's called that. We just know it's a mulligan. It's a mulligan.
So Mitch, the difference is like you could have, let's just say Alabama minus 4.5, or let's just say Alabama minus 18.5. Like say it's in the first round, whatever their big spread is against whoever they're playing. And there's like 20 seconds left in the game, and they're only up 7. So you know they're not going to cover 18.5. You can go in and get you a mulligan bet and get a bet back like before the game ends, as long as you're doing it on live bet.
Yeah, bet back token. A bet back token turns your bet into a bonus bet if you decide to back out during the game.
Yeah.
So you're not going to necessarily get that money back into your bank account, but it'll be like, hey, you want to save it here? That's fine. We'll just put this in a little nest over here. Whenever you're ready, start dishing that boy out again.
Yeah.
But you got to be active. You got to be ready and paying attention for that.
You got to be paying attention. You got to be dialed in.
Yeah.
Got to be dialed in.
So a lot of good tokens, a lot of good coins and promos going on.
Because that's a great note by Garrett too. Because when you get into the streams and you're watching games, a lot of times you can fall victim to what's happening on the bird, what's happening on Instagram. When it comes to these first couple of rounds, if you're gonna hit that bet back token, you got to be dialed.
Yeah.
You got to know what's going on. Good note, G. That's a great note.
I mean, we're gonna have multiple split screens going, so you're gonna be.
We'll be excited.
Locked in.
Yeah.
Locked.
Maybe we assign somebody to like, hey, keep an eye on this one. Notify everybody.
Right.
It's a
Either
team
hit
effort.
eject or hammer it.
I'm excited for the first kind of rival bet that happens.
Well, we might have a while, but
just somebody has like a different take. Like say Michigan makes it to Auburn.
What rivalry is that?
I'm saying like if I'm sitting there betting, I'll probably bet
the
Auburn.
one
and
that
I'll
just
be at
means
Michigan.
more.
Yeah. I can understand. Yeah, that brings us back to the. I lost my train of thought.
But you could also, hey, you could join forces in that moment though and do the over.
Were you going to say my feud against Michigan?
Well, I was going to bring it up. Yeah, your feud against Michigan, but it was also like the teams, the upsets. That I don't know why that word could not come to me, but the upsets. I was surprised it wasn't in your first round because I know you got a little deal with Michigan.
I don't have a deal with Michigan.
I
don't have a
almost-
deal with
And
Michigan.
we talked about it walking up to the bus.
bet them. They were my
is
dog of the day.
It feels like, I don't know, and I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Maybe it's a jealousy thing. Maybe it's like a.
No.
It's a best friend thing.
When you say jealousy, that's where the feud starts to spark in my body.
But it doesn't have to be a feud. I get it.
I didn't know. See, now you're doing it.
No.
Now you're doing the thing that creates some feud. I don't have a feud with Michigan.
I understand why you would be upset based on how the last couple of years have gone with Michigan
But I'm
and Nebraska.
not upset. I'm not upset about.
So you're gonna look at me with that tone of voice, and you're gonna look at me and say, "I'm not upset." Right
I'm
now.
ready to take down UC San Diego. Like if they lose, I'm gonna think to myself, "Damn it, this was the one that I know logically." Like everybody was kind of saying, this is gonna be the tough one. We got all the
This
boys
is
in the
gonna be.
back.
I think we need to take a timeout. I think we need to take a timeout.
Before it gets too heated.
I think we need to take
Let's get a bow timeout in.
Oh, a bow timeout.
We're gonna do a
I
bow
like that.
timeout real quick.
Timeout.
Yeah, let's cool the jets for a second.
Reset.
Let's dial it in. Reset
Because
the
the
batteries.
vein was gonna start coming out of my
Yeah,
neck.
let me. Why don't you?
Yeah, we got a bow timeout. By the way, Mitch, nice surprise for you. We got some. I know Taylor's about to talk about it here in a second, but some Bowberry waffles. We would love to see if you can take these things down. How big of a bite you can take out with that large mouth you have.
These laminated cue
bars.
cards kind of messed me up a little bit. They are
we got
beautiful
food for
though.
the
Great
boys.
job, Sherm. Do me a favor. Go ahead and open up the Bojangles app or order online to get 20% off of your chicken and Bowberry combo using code BUSSIN. That's BUSSIN. Available at participating stores 3/10/25 through 3/24/2025. Try our new chicken and Bowberry waffle. It's both sweet and savory. We put the Bojangles spin on a classic breakfast, introducing the chicken and Bowberry waffles, our signature Cajun filet between two warm Bowberry waffles with a Bowberry honey glazed drizzle. if you're a fan of chicken and waffles, but always felt like it was missing something bold Cajun flavor and sweet Bo-Berry goodness, then it's your lucky day, because Bojangles' new chicken and Bo-Berry waffles are available now. It's the bold Cajun filet you love, topped with Bo-Berry glaze and sandwiched between 2 delicious Bo-Berry waffles. It's only available for a limited time, so get your Bojangles and order yours today.
Bojangles saves friendships. The boys saw. Let me get this Lucy out of my mouth. The boys saw that there was some, some heat coming.
Yeah.
Potential heat.
Yeah.
Like we can't
little
let
Cajun
the boys,
heat.
Yeah, little Cajun
Little
heat.
Cajun heat. Now we got to simmer it down with that little blueberry.
I will say the shit is good.
Little time out.
The shit is fire.
Do you mind if you want to share these?
Yeah, go on.
Let me get a little bite to you of that.
You got the nice.
See that little bite right there? That's the one that you, when your friend asks, "Hey, can I get a bite?" You want to take that one first. Will was not smart enough to do that. I'm gonna do that right now.
Because the Cajun filet is incredible by itself, but you put it with that drizzle, that Bo-Berry drizzle, and just sandwich between a couple waffles. I see what they're trying to do. Mitch, did you take a bite?
No,
Do the
not
big
yet.
bite.
Let's go, Mitch. Take it all.
Mike's just taking a.
I think you can take it down all in one bite, don't you think?
No.
Try.
You do have to try. This is for the
Mustache
boys.
Michigan
It's for
for
the
sure,
boys. Everybody at home watching right now, they're like, is Mitch going to take this down or not? Think about your family watching like they do every Tuesday night.
I'm thinking about my grandparents.
Think about Gam
Hi,
Gam.
hi, Mom and Papa.
Mama, papa.
They're,
That's so sweet.
they're going to.
I'm on pop up.
There's no way I can do this whole thing.
My dad's watching.
Try.
Believe.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Believe.
You got it. Keep
Oh,
going. Just shove it in there. Shove it in there.
You gotta
No, Mitch.
compress.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right.
That's a good bite, though. That's a good bite. Now get back to work. So I don't hate Michigan.
We're back. Time in.
Yeah, time in. I don't have a feud against Michigan.
It's very. I mean, a couple weeks ago, you were sitting there saying, "We're back to hating Michigan. I'm back to the downfall. I'm back to this. Back to that."
It's because you say some spicy stuff that starts to spark that feud.
What do friends do? We got to get spicy up in
I
here.
understand. Again, we just came off a
You're
timeout.
so focused on the Bo-Berry glaze, dude. I'm focused on Cajun chicken out here. You know, I'm trying to get a little spicy on this bus, and it's very clear to me that you're just hating. And I know I can be a pestering fan.
Hang on. What am I hating?
Come on now. You said I can't wait to watch Michigan's downfall on multiple
That's because
occasions.
you
This is after I said I want Nebraska to do better than they did this past year.
I know. I can recall the conversation.
I do.
Oh, you can. So you remember being a little nasty.
The problem is I want you to be so on board because I don't want to surround myself with mediocre thinking. Greatness hates mediocrity, and mediocrity hates greatness. And when you say, "Hey, 6 and whatever, 7 and 6, whatever that game up 7 and 5," that's where it's like that's mediocre thinking, and I don't want that. That to me, I don't want that part of my life.
That is one. That's one
you're my
train of
boy.
thinking right there. Here's the
You're
other
my
one.
boy. You're my boy. So when you say that, that's where the fester starts. Like, all right,
right.
Fucker. And you know that about me. You know that about me.
What do you mean?
So that's what fires me up.
I know this. I know Will Compton this. I know when Will Compton goes in the offseason, when he played 10 full years in the NFL, that he focused on getting 1% better. Being good consistently makes you great. So when Nebraska goes 7 and 5, if they go 7 and 5, you are being better every single year. You're being good, which will lead to eventually being great.
Okay, so I got a scenario.
Okay,
for you.
so tell me.
You're coming off.
It's March, and we're talking about football. All right, the bracket's here, boys, but let's dial in this.
You're bouncing back off of your ACL.
Yeah.
You just like, hey, I just want to start all year long, put on some good tape, just get better than I ended last year because I'm coming off an ACL. Or are you thinking I'm going after all of it? I'm going after all pro, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I was going after what I was already achieving. Is what
you
you're
didn't
saying.
achieve it the year before that?
The year before that, 5 games
You
in,
tore your
0
ACL.
sacks, no pressures.
You tore your ACL.
I was playing the best football ever. Great. So when I tore my ACL, my thought process was get back to what you were doing. Get back to Taylor Lewan of old.
And if I was just like, hey, that's kind of those expectations are kind of crazy. Like you're coming off a major surgery. Like let's just have a good year of starting every game.
Yeah, but that's not.
You'd be like, bro, you're my boy. We're like, we need to be going after this thing together.
Yeah, we go after it. I'm saying,
and we went after it.
Right. So okay, if that's the train of thought you're using, then let's go after another bowl game. But you know what I'm saying? That I'm saying.
No.
I was at my expectation for myself and how I was playing was up here.
So no matter what I'm thinking,
pre-ACL.
I'm thinking, let me buy in.
ACL happens, and I'm like, how do we get back to where we were? And so if we want to use your logic, it's like, all right, Will, we got the monkey off our back of hitting a bowl game for the first time since 2015. Let's go right back to just hitting a bowl game? No. I want these motherfuckers Capital One Bowl. I want these boys fucking 7-5. I want the dogs out here.
Our brains are different. We operate differently.
We're saying the same thing with different expectations.
The difference is
you're saying national championship.
No. Well, yeah. Like, that's what we're chasing.
Dude, I might need another bow timeout.
For real.
Hey, the analogy doesn't really hit the same because Taylor was the greatness that he's trying to achieve. That was the year before he tore his ACL. What you're wanting Nebraska to do is like, hey, Taylor, your best years were when you were in second or third grade. Like, it's been a minute. Like, let's get back to that. And it's like,
let's get back to 6th, 7th grade before we start looking at those grades.
Yeah. Like, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. And it's okay. Listen, Nebraska fans.
You guys are being way too rational and thinking.
Let Louis talk to you for a minute.
Expectation.
Let Louis just talk to you for a minute, Nebraska fans. First off, I want you to know I'm on your side. I love Big Red. I love Lincoln. Whenever I go into Lincoln, the camaraderie, the hospitality, people being around, you guys are incredible. And I got to witness you guys donkey stomp the Colorado Buffs, who are a massive rival of you guys. I am on your side. When I say 7-5, I'm not being like, oh, a little poor Nebraska. I'm saying 7-5, like, yes, dude, let's get better. Let's just get better than the year before, right? Because if we go 6-6, we're like, dude, we're the same. I love Matt Rule. I love Raiola. I love that he's taking and he's literally trying to do exactly what Patrick Mahomes is doing. Because why? Kobe Bryant did it for Michael Jordan. Why can't Dylan Raiola do that for Patrick Mahomes? Yeah. We just want to be better every single year. And 7-5 says you are better than the year prior. So yes, you're going to have the Will Comptons out there that say natty or bust. But when it doesn't happen, it's like, okay, well, we disappointed, but we went 7-5. Like, we're better. And next year's going to be 8-4. Better and better and better and better. That's what we want every single year. And I do want to tell a little story real quick.
You're casual. You're casual, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm a casual of my friend's team. Yes,
yeah, you're casual.
I am. But I also
give me UC San Diego in the first round.
Dude, and also you want to talk about ball real quick. You guys want to get rock fucking hard watching some blocking. Go pull up late 2019 Tennessee Titans offensive line. This weekend. We're going to do a little camping situation. The weather didn't permit. So we went to the man cave and I set up a couple of blow up mattresses. But then, you know how kids are. It's always a war at bedtime. So one of my kids goes sleeps with the wife. I sleep in the man cave with my youngest daughter. And I start seeing Andrew Whitworth and I are going back and forth about how, like, he sent me the tweet he put on Will Compton before he tweeted it. Be like, just so you know, I'm about to put your boy's head on a stake. And hey, it's all good. Don't worry about it. I know my boy's got thick skin. Then all of a sudden, who was the other center for... I can't believe his name's
Eric Wood.
Eric Wood posts that
out of nowhere.
So I start thinking to myself, like, it would be an absolute shame. It would be a horrible, horrible shame if offensive linemen around the years of 2013 to 2020 started just posting their blocking videos. Roger Saffold, 2019 Raiders, clips of them blocking Will Compton. So I actually go and I found a couple clips of me and Will when we went at it. Nebraska, when you try to throw a punch at me. After I brought you to the sidelines, Raiders when I blocked you out and we got a 7-yard game.
You guys averaged 2 yards.
So I'm watching YouTube videos on my phone like 11 p.m. on like Saturday night of just these couple of things, and then I just start self-sucking a little bit. And I go to like the 2019 highlights and I start watching these 5 men just put on a fucking clinic of blocking. It was so beautiful, dude. It's like the good old times, the good old days. You sit back there, I'm watching B blocks with Roger Saffold and Taylor. I'm watching man reaches by Jack Conklin. I'm watching aces by Josh Klein and Ben Jones. Boy, dude, I might be one of the most underrated greatest offensive lines that have ever walked this earth. It was so beautiful to see. So when I tear my ACL, I'm trying to get back to what I was, what we ended up being. Nebraska, we don't want to go back to what we were because we haven't been there since 2015. So we want to, this decade, the 20s, let's get better every year. And then by the 30s, we're fighting it, baby. We're fighting it.
I do have
Great Depression.
I do have a science experiment.
Go ahead.
That I would love to implement this
That's why I don't
March
mess
Madness
with you.
tournament.
That's why I don't mess with you on
What
a
you
real
mean?
level.
What you mean?
You know. I don't got to. Go ahead, Sharon.
Okay, dude.
The
AJ
streets are
Browning me right now.
The streets are saying that the Compton curse is a very real thing. It's all over Twitter.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's all over Twitter.
I can vouch for that.
So, I think we go to some kind of place like Lids or whatever. We get some basketball jerseys for Sir Will. We have him put some on, cheer for that team in March Madness during the game, and see if the Compton curse really is real. Let's put it to the test.
Yeah, I'm down to do that. To me, I just think like you get your lip bloodied over and over and over. You just got to keep coming back. Because one day it's going to shake.
Dude, legit, Will is Homer Simpson when he decided to start boxing. Just takes punches and punches, and
Yeah,
eventually that person's going to wear themselves out. They're so exhausted from hitting Will in the face.
Yeah.
He just won't get knocked out.
Yeah.
Dude,
It's hard to beat a man that refuses to quit.
I don't think that works, Sherm. I mean, we can try it, but I think Will's heart truly has to be in something for the curse to come alive. If the curse is real, which I don't believe it is.
Well,
I don't believe
it's even been with some of these bets lately. If he posts the bet on Twitter, it loses, and if he doesn't post it on Twitter, and then he'll post his winning and be like, "Hey, yo, look what I won," because he wasn't gassing it up before the game.
Right. You need to go. What was that? Like you called McPherson out for that, right? Because he would hit and he would post the winners. Like that's maybe where you need to go. You need to go with that. Like don't promote your picks. Just say I've got picks. I'll let you know how it goes. Yeah. And then you post the winners, right?
Because Jack's always talking about these winners he's always hitting on. It's like,
and dude, it's always on the fall tour.
Sharing
I specifically remember us like we were driving through Chattanooga.
We can pull up our all-time gambling stats. We can and do this if we really want to.
Yeah. If you guys were to go toe to toe, I assume you'd be prosperous. However,
that's the point we're making.
Yeah, and I remember us driving through Chattanooga, and all of us are sitting there on the border and being like, okay, what parlays are we going to put in? And there was a good long conversation that took place. I can't remember what game. I think it was in Georgia.
Yeah, I think we were going down to Georgia.
Yeah, we're going to Georgia, South Carolina. Yeah. And everybody's got an opinion about what parlays, and we all dial in our parlays, and we go to the game. We leave, we get back, and Jack's posting parlays that hit.
Yeah,
our parlays did it. So
y'all post
I think
parlays.
That's where the hate kind of comes. Is like we see Jay. You maybe have a beautiful mind. You got that Rain Man of sports betting, and you're kind of
trying to get better.
You're harboring all the wins for yourself,
dude. Just speaking of betting, I haven't done a ton of betting since football ended because I like to take this time to like do a little just break.
Soul housekeeping.
Yeah, soul searching. And I cannot wait for Thursday because I'm going to be dialing it up in a big way. And so just so it's out there, I will be posting all of my bets before tip-off. At least an hour. So
At least an hour?
At least an hour.
Yeah.
5 seconds before tip. But yeah, I don't want to rehash something bad. I will be taking UC San Diego as my upset. And it has nothing to do against Michigan. But I look at all the upsets constantly, and I can't find one that I love that's like a 12 versus 4, 12 versus 5. So that's where I'm at right now.
Jack, can I say something?
Yeah.
All good, man.
Dude, that's
all
big
good.
of you.
That's
and it has nothing to do with Michigan.
This is my first time diving in. I hope the Maize and Blue do well, but I don't know enough about basketball to plant my flag in the ground and be like, we're going to win because of X, Y, and Z. I can do that with football.
It's hard for me.
Basketball, I'm watching truly as a fan and just hoping for the best.
It's going to be awesome. There was a moment we all, I think, experienced in elementary or middle school or even into high school where that Thursday and Friday where they put on all the games at lunch. At least they did at our high school. And
you have those teachers that are just loving it.
And it's
the sports teachers,
It's basically like a free 2 days. And
you're
I
filling
know
up brackets in class.
Hopefully we got a couple high schoolers listening and they're maybe listening on Thursday, like about to go into these first rounds. And I just hope they're getting fired up thinking, man, I don't even have to focus today. So, God, I'm so excited for Thursday.
Mr. Cervantes, economics class, he would do that.
Shout out.
Every male teacher at Brentwood was a coach.
Yeah.
And they love it, dude.
I love
so
that, dude.
fun.
I love it. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be a fun little time.
Update with Bussin.
Oh.
When's the merch store dropping? So we have an update with the tornadoes and the rain and everything else. We didn't get the merch that got to the shop on time.
Correct.
So I believe we're pushing the store drop.
Yeah, we're going to push it a week.
Okay.
Pushing it a week.
We'll push it a week. But good news is we have almost 1,500 people signed up. So shout out to you guys. And if we get to 2,000, do we want to do some giveaways?
Oh, we're getting to 2,000.
Yeah, we're getting 2,000.
So yes,
giveaways.
Definitely. We want to just promise giveaways. Then is what you're saying. Yeah,
we can brainstorm and then
we'll get in the think tank.
Yeah.
Talk about some giveaways. But if you're listening right now, go to bwtb.com and sign up. And you'll be the first to know when the merch drops. And I think there's going to be a discount code.
There's going to be a discount for the first 24
hours, which will be big. But yeah, if we get numbers up to, absolutely, we should give away merch to the tier ones.
And there's going to be, I've seen the merch. G's done a fantastic job. There's some new stuff. There's some OG stuff. Like, it's exciting. It's exciting what's about to happen.
Yeah.
That one thing we were texting about last night.
Go ahead and tease it.
Whispers of the bow tie coming back.
The bow tie's coming back. We got sweatsuits.
Yeah. Travel suits, man.
Travel suits for real.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I scrolled through it pretty quick last night, and I got to the bottom and I saw that sweatsuit and I was like, oh my God, let's go. The bow tie though, and the B, it's back.
Just kidding.
And some bestsellers will be back too.
Yeah.
I picture all of us, well, not all of us, but everybody that's like going on a spring tour trip in the airport, matching sweatsuits.
Yeah.
Just walking through the terminal.
That'll be hot, but yeah, I'm down.
It'll be hot.
They go, what team is that? Oh,
people are looking at the squad being like, that's not a team.
We have height. We
actually
we look like a basketball team. We got all the heights.
Yeah, Taylor first
our
off
big
the bus.
Yeah, but I feel like in basketball, I'm like normal. If
you're
not
like
short.
a point guard.
6'7".
You are like a point guard though.
I'm like, yeah, it's a 1
in the NBA.
I mean,
I feel like I'd be on a high school basketball team. I'm a filthy
6'7".
center. No easy buckets around me.
Hell yeah.
And what, pool basketball?
Well, you already know how that goes. I'm talking about in high school basketball. You need someone to own the paint, but I'll throw some bows in the paint.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to get a little dirty.
But yeah, shout out to all the people that have signed up already. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,500 is crazy.
1,500.
That's nuts. Let's bump that up to 2,000.
Let's
get to
5,000.
5,000.
Holy shit!
God, we might have to up
I
the
think we
inventory.
Got some Nebraska expectations on that one, but I'll get behind that.
What are you giving away? If we hit 5,000, what would you give away?
A jar of Will Compton sweat, dude, from the sauna. That's what we need to give. A jar of Will sweat. I'll get it myself.
We have to get to.
We gotta get it. We gotta get to 5,000.
I'd give away a jersey.
Okay.
I have some Raider ones in the closet still.
What about your sweat?
I'll give away a sweat. We put in a little mason jar.
Maybe mason jar's a lot of sweat.
Well, I'm talking about one of them little itty bitty ones.
Little shot glass.
Little shot glass of sweat.
You can
maybe turn into a little necklace for somebody. Be like, oh, what's on your neck there? Oh, nothing. Hard work.
Yeah.
That's what that is. I mean,
Speaking of hard work, did you see my throwback video last night?
No.
Come on, man.
What's your
Don't act like you ain't
No,
seen it.
I pull it up because I might have seen it, but I don't.
That thing's going viral right now.
Okay. Which one is it?
Me wrestling at 10 years old.
Okay, I did see that this morning.
And I am a pit bull.
Look at the grainy film.
Bro, Cody, for whatever reason, is just reliving the youth days back home.
He must have been in the air this weekend.
He got a VCR to work, so he had this stuff up on the screen.
Which one are you, Will?
He's the one in the blue.
Yeah, Navy.
Yeah. Hey, put his little ass down.
Hey, go to the... Yeah, here we go. Now we go set up. Look at your boy in the back.
Look at the pose.
Look at...
You right there standing up?
Just swaying back and forth.
Your shoulders are crazy right there. Your shoulders are wild. Who the fuck?
This is a fake cut going to a cradle. So usually, Taylor, when you take the diamond position, because you know when you in wrestling, you'll either get top or bottom. If you're on top, you like get around their stomach.
Do you want to? Can we move this stuff so you can show me?
No.
You sure?
Take a minute.
Okay.
But you get around the stomach. You place it on the elbow, wrap slowly around the belly button, and right when it touches is when the whistle blows. But I'm going diamond, like, hey, I'm gonna diamond cut him. Like, I'm gonna put my hands on his back and I'm gonna let him up and give him a point because I know he can't take me on my feet. Go diamond. I'm on the side, and instead of letting him up, I just go for that cradle, just head in the side and crank him up.
God damn. I understood most of that.
I'm watching that, and I told Cody, I was like, I can't believe that kid never won state. I'm watching, I'm like, he has it in him.
Sounds like he didn't have the drive. You tried to quit in high school.
Well, I quit in 6th grade and didn't come back until my parents started to ground me in high school.
Which is just nuts.
Because wrestling's a different
animal
game. It's a different world, bro.
Is there a piece of you that wishes you had a little cauliflower?
I do.
No, but that's like, yeah, you got a little.
You said a little bit of cauliflower. This is a little bit.
That
right?
does,
like,
yeah,
look at this here.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it.
Your boy's got a little bit of cauliflower here. I tried skipping school when I got this cauliflower here.
Right there.
Yeah, I see
And then right on that side. Got myself a
I
little
came home
cauliflower,
acting all beat
Cut
up,
drill.
like I
Freshman
just
year of
wasn't
college.
feeling it. Had some cauliflower, a little blood coming from the ear.
How cool did you feel?
I felt.
Did they drain it?
No, because it didn't get puffy enough. Like Cody's gotten his drain because he's got cauliflower. It's like Cody was an actual real wrestler.
Yeah, Cody's. You don't mess with Cody.
Yeah, he's.
You see Cody at a bar and he's poking you in the chest. You let that poke happen.
Yeah, Cody. That's when you pull aside and you're like, buddy, what are you doing? Like we're just trying to have a good time out
Right.
here. Well, you don't got to look at everybody thinking they're trying to fight.
His version of a good time is
you know
ears on
them
the ground.
psychos that they're just
Oh,
psychos.
yeah.
There's no really.
He's down in 30A and he's staring everybody down.
Yeah, buddy, we're on vacation.
There are guys you go and you hang out with. You're at the house pre-gaming with the boys, just like, yeah, we're having a good time. He's all smiles, and then they walk through the bar door, and it's like a trance comes over them.
Yeah.
They get severed. As soon
I
as they
thought
walk
I was
into
literally
the-
going to bring it up.
Severed, yes, great
I was
transition.
going to bring up Severed because it sounded like that's what happened.
Severance season finale this week. I am so down the rabbit hole on every theory that is out there. I follow the Severance fan club on X. I've been checking out everything, any message board that I can fill my brain with Severance, and I have no clue what's going to happen or what's going on.
We got to be careful. Jack hasn't watched yet.
You haven't watched, Jack?
I was out of town all weekend.
He's in Knoxville.
Yeah, I was at a wedding all weekend, so I got back last night and
you didn't watch it when you got back?
I started watching it in 5 minutes. I fell asleep. So
Buddy, you
I know.
have to watch
tonight.
this last one.
It's on the to-do list tonight. 100%.
Bro, James.
All right, should I get off the bus? We're gonna do this.
He does that little. He does that little moan.
What is that noise?
And he's like, I wish you'd take them raw. And she's like cutting this little egg, and you're like, dude, this dude's a little psycho, bro.
You're not listening?
Or hand on the mic.
You guys, we're in the middle of a podcast. Garrett's trying to whisper the things. Go ahead.
Hey, so, or when she's at her desk.
You can talk. You have to talk.
I was just playing into the. Or when she was at her desk looking at the little code.
Yeah.
And he walks in.
My Helly.
She's like, what the fuck?
What
Yeah,
the
bro.
fuck?
I don't know what's gonna happen this week, but I am so locked
The
in.
last
about it.
scene.
I'm telling you, something's going on with
She's
the,
alive?
with the sister. Something's going on with the sister, Mark's sister. I'm
Something.
telling you.
You know when
I'm
she pulled
hella-
up and Cobell's like, she's one of James. Like the James guy is kind of like this Epsteinish figure. It feels like this
Yeah.
elite.
God.
Well, I'm just saying. I feel like there's so many like calls to the things that have happened, like that happen in the world. It's like Milchek. Him turning against the system, everybody else using big words. Milchek's not, for whatever reason, you got to talk dumber. Like some racial ties going on, and he's just like the man in the system. Milchek's going to turn.
Yeah, and we did get one of our OG boys back on our side.
Who?
Dylan.
Dylan's back.
Dude, I'm off Dylan,
No,
bro.
Dylan's back.
Hey, he's got to prove it. He's on a prove it deal.
But he's such a pussy. Dude, if you're
What?
getting severed,
He's
but
pissed.
and you're seeing your wife in the room, it's like, why is the real life, dude? Why is your Audi getting upset that she's like having dates on the inside with your severed mind? It's like you could have some fun with that.
I mean, yeah,
They're like, hey, can we hug and kiss? I'm looking at my wife like, hey, I would need you to. We'd have to get down in this little private room.
Come on.
Yeah,
You
and then
said
go home and
you
talk
would.
about it. Like I feel like that would be. It's me. It's my brain. You know what I mean? And he's mad and he walks out because he feels like she's cheating on him with him.
Yeah, because Audi Dylan doesn't get a hose.
Well, he's a punk at home, dude. He's not
For
putting
sure.
in the real work.
Hey, also, milkshake. That's milkshake, Taylor. You've been hearing milkshake around the office. Same guy.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
And Milchek getting hit with that work-life balance.
Jack's over here sitting like a flashbang just went off in his ear. Like, can we wrap it up? No, almost. Go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
I was just going
But
to say,
Jack's over here.
and
Like he's got tinnitus in his ear or some shit like that right now.
Mark telling Milchek about like he's like, man, it's just work, man. Like I'm just going to take today, and it's like it's hitting Milchek that he sacrifices absolutely everything for this company that continues to belittle him and pat him on the head and say, hey, get in line. Milchek's going to flip, and it's all starting to come together.
Yeah, he already flipped on the one guy that was like, that's your job, not
Yeah.
mine.
Devour feculence.
What does that mean, Taylor?
Eat something.
Shit.
Feculence. Yeah.
Eat shit.
Feces. Feculence.
Feces.
Yes.
Mr. Drummond. Dude, I love this
Hey,
show.
the edit that you sent in last night, Sherm.
Dude, you know what I love about you? The fucking intentional words you put in sometimes. Like, I know when you like something. I always will know when you really truly enjoy something.
Hey,
I love this show.
That was it, though.
It's so amazing. It's like one of my favorite qualities of yours is the passion in your voice when you're truly into something.
Thanks.
That is
Season finale this week.
And Miss Wong, the way they kind of treated her on the way
Go back
out.
tonight. Let's go to your thing.
And you see that everybody's like, these are raw moments of she's actually a child. The way they're kind of passing around, you're going to take this shuttle, and you can see the little bit of fear she has of just being young, dude. Again, the show is all time. And the little nuggets, it's, again, the Severance fan club followed on X. It is
Follow me
at _Will Compton. Both Instagram, X, TikTok.
All right.
You feel good?
We're back.
Oh, speaking of TikTok, we might as well just shout out the boys.
Follow us. We're almost at 600,000.
Oh, are we really?
Oh, dude. Well, let me ask you a question. First off, I know I kind of said this while everybody was talking. Love these cue cards.
Yeah.
Slippery.
Got the
They are a little
slippery.
slippery. They've been fumbling.
We
all
gotta have a
over.
good method. Like we've read the
We need some
Bojangles,
paper
we gotta
clips.
throw them on the ground.
Yeah, see, I'm not doing that. I'm all mixed up when I went to read the Bojangles. But let me ask you a question. What does a mechanic, an auto shop owner in Georgia, a taco restaurant operator in Arizona, and a life savings medical innovator in Tennessee have in common?
Tell us, Taylor.
Well, they're all small business owners, and they're all thriving on TikTok. Across the U.S., over 7.5 million businesses from family-owned shops to entrepreneurs are using TikTok to compete and grow. In fact, 40% of businesses on TikTok say TikTok has allowed them to scale their operations, increase sales, and expand to new locations. And that growth means jobs. Today, there are over 7.5 U.S. businesses on TikTok employing more than 28 million people. And that number keeps growing. Small businesses thrive on TikTok. Learn more about TikTok's contribution to the U.S. economy at TikTokeconomyimpact.com.
That's a good read.
Thanks, man.
I like the throw.
You know what I've been doing a little bit is I've actually...
reading.
Well, yeah. I start reading the cue cards before the show. So my brain's like, you've done this before, buddy. Like, you just keep on keeping on. You've seen these words. You've been a part of these words.
How the eyes.
Don't let them get you terrible. And I haven't done a fucking thing to get the LASIK or whatever needs to be done.
We got to be accountability.
You know what the problem is? Done with that one too, and that one. You know what the problem is I'm going to do the LASIK, and then my wife sends me a bunch of horror stories on LASIK, and now I'm scared of LASIK. I'm still going to do it, but I'm a little afraid now. And then something about like being on the podcast and just kind of maybe it doesn't go right.
Bro, tell her to kick rocks when it comes to doing that.
Okay, Mitch.
Mustache Mitch coming at my wife.
No, Taylor's awesome, but it's like, hey, you know I'm trying to do this. Why are you going to make me scared of doing it?
But my wife is a nervous version of me, which I need. Because if my wife was like me, we'd be dead. we would essentially be dead. It wouldn't be able. Oh, we're done with that one too.
You know who is seeing the field well?
Who's seeing the field well?
The Cincinnati Bengals.
You know, before we go to Cincinnati Bengals, I want to say something about TV shows.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
The floor is
Yeah, I
yours.
just sat here for 15 minutes and I just heard gibberish. Season 4 of Shoresy. It's out. And I'm almost all the way through it. Jack, have you looked into it at all?
I've seen the first episode and a half, episode 2, and then like 5 minutes of the third.
Big transition season.
Yeah.
Big transition. It's all about Shoresy. He's getting away from hockey for the first time. Anybody who's ever played sports, whether it's high school, college, or in the professional league. Eventually, you got to hang it up. Now, Shoresy's in this this tough gray area where he's trying to figure out what's next for me that's going to fill the void of what I once was. And it's a fight, boys.
Is he listening to Bussin' with the Boys?
I hope so. Jared Keyser needs to be on this bus. He needs to, and it could just be him sitting there. Because we'll be like, hey, have you seen the show? And Will's like, no. Okay, get off. We need to.
I'm done to listen to the show, though. You know what I mean? I'm done to sit there like yourself in Severance and talk through it.
I feel like we did it one time and I sat over there and that was fun. And now it's become like a weekly thing for you guys. And I know next week I'll sit on this show again while you guys break down the finale. And I have to hear Jack have tinnitus again in his ear.
You know what it is, too? All you need is that one comment that says, love the Severance talk.
Yeah.
Just
And
one.
for sure.
We could have 40 that say, stop with the Severance talk. But if one guy's like, love the Severance talk, it's not going anywhere.
Yep.
It's not going anywhere. But that's all I had to say.
I think I'm going to dive in once we get through March Madness and Severance is over. So I'm starting at season 1.
People don't know how big that is. That's huge. It's been a year and a half of us talking to Garrett about getting on. Getting on Shoresy. Because, buddy, I'm just telling you, you will love that show.
Good show.
If I know my G Baby the way I know my G Baby's gonna love that show. You're gonna love it.
I can't wait.
It sounds like you can. March Madness, Severance, and then after that,
I can wait.
Yeah, you can wait, but not for very long.
Yeah, I'm
right? It's
excited.
got to be in this year, this calendar year right now. But go ahead, talk football, Will. Bengals are doing great.
I was just going to
Actually,
say,
I
you
don't
were
think
talking
the
about
Bengals are doing
LASIK.
great
I'm
at
like,
all.
okay,
Yeah.
where can we find a little transition to talk some NFL talk? You know who's seeing the field well?
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bengals.
I don't think they're seeing the field that well.
I think they're starting to.
I think they understand they have key pieces they have to keep in the locker room. I think Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, those guys all deserve the contracts they have.
If you go to our Twitter or Instagram, you can pull up a graphic that our amazing graphic designer Cooper made, but shows how much money that LSU team
$666 million.
Yeah, hasn't guaranteed. In the
Derek Stingley
contract.
Jr. to
It's-
sign a 3-year, $60 million? 3-year. Okay, so a 3-year, $90 million deal then. But that team just in numbers value is probably proving to be the greatest team of all time. Like that, was it 2019? 2019 LSU team, that is insane. But let me get back on my Bengals take for just one more second. I love the fact that they're keeping these pillars on their team. However, your team wasn't very good last year from a record standpoint. Your defense was not very good last year. Joe Burrow, as amazing he was, and it probably had the numbers to win the MVP, they couldn't get in the playoffs. They had themselves in a situation where they did not control their own destiny in December. So now you got to get better. You're keeping the pieces you need, but you're also letting Trey Hendrickson walk away, who is a stud for your team. He's an all-pro type of guy. He's the guy who gets to the quarterback on a consistent basis. He is now a disgruntled employee. He wants to go somewhere else. He probably will. And now you have a worse defense. So where does that put
Hubbard
the Bengals?
retired.
Yeah,
retired.
Hubbard, the Cincinnati kid, who had a great highlight, like a walk away from the game video. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal stuff. Little mini JJ Watt, walking around there with the little bionicle arm. But I just think, you got to add pieces. I looked in, they added like some 5th-year DT who was a 5th-round pick from the Packers. But other than that, not a whole lot of movement in free agency for their on the defensive side of the ball, which I get. I get you want to keep those pieces, but boys, we gotta strengthen that defense up if you want your defense to be on the same level as your offense. Your offense is incredible. And by the way, there's like $150 million on the receivers and the quarterback, and then I think their whole offensive line is like at like $69 million. Like, we need to spruce those numbers up a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, they still have holes, but if you look at last year, they had a very bad defense. To me, I don't think you can go anywhere but up, even though you're losing these perennial players like Trey and Sam Hubbard, because with Trey, it's like you can only pay so many guys at a number that they're going to be happy about.
Yeah.
And this offense, the way that they were performing, like even though they didn't make the playoffs, they were still like on that back end of the season, they were like a playoff contending team. They were 0-4 on like a walk-off field goals. So again, it just comes down to a last-second kick with a brutal defense. Again, they had guys on that defense, but as a unit, they were very bad. Mm-hmm. And so now they know that they can just get to work on getting young and getting good on defense, because they were as good as they were on offense last year, and both of these wide receivers are playing when they're kind of disgruntled about what their future is with the team that they want to commit to them. Now they know this team is committed to them. Joe Burrow's happy because there was a rumor a week or two ago about, hey, if Bengals aren't doing the right thing, Joe B might be asking for a trade, and who knows if that was even real or not. But now that they've solidified these pieces on offense, they know that they have to get better on defense. Yeah. And I think, you start trying to find these cats in the middle tier, lower tier free agency that can help your team out, play good defensive football, and then you're gonna have to win in the draft. But I still think that they're set up in a very good position to grow off the year that they had last year. Now that they got their receivers happy, and again, they did lose these key pieces on defense, but defense was a question mark for them anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, if signing Trey back going to make your defense better? Like, yeah, if he's not on the team, like, you get a little worse there. But again, you already know you have a lot to fix defensively anyway. You can't just pay a guy like Trey, try to get to some number that they might compromise on, and then he's still a little disgruntled and pissed off, kind of doing his own thing on the defensive front, just thinking about sacks.
Yeah,
you need some guys to play team defense on the Bengals, because it's not, hey, we're not going to lean on you. You want the room thinking, hey, let's lean on us to win games, but you need guys playing team defense in Cincinnati, because that offense is what's going to win you these games, because you got a killer under center and you got these weapons now on the outside. And it's like, I think about the time, it's like them signing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. He like gets back to the years of when Terrell Owens and Ocho Cinco were on the same team, or you had these superstar receivers. Like, they have 2 contracts now that are in like the top 5 of wide receivers.
Yeah.
A very happy offense. Yeah, you got to get a little bit better on the offensive line. You, of course, have to pour in defensively, but I think that they've established like the cornerstones. Now the cornerstones that were already there are now extremely happy that they're getting paid. So I think it's just going to build good juju going into this year.
Yeah, you're definitely on the offensive side of the ball. There's good juju, and you brought up a good point. This might be my offensive bias, but you don't necessarily need to break off your defense. You just need 11 guys playing as one. Everyone has to understand what they do, how they do it. Edge, wall, swarm, as Mike
11
Vrabel
Willie
would say.
C's out there.
You need 11 Willie C's with a better tan. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You need 11 guys with a Will Compton mentality and a little bit more of a tan from an athletic ability standpoint, and you're rolling.
Yeah.
You're
top.
Brother,
you're
you
top
need
20,
you need a couple
range.
guys that can rush the passer, because you can't be putting corners and safeties, Willie C corners and safeties, in positions to be covering all day long.
Yeah.
You got to get to the quarterback. You can do that with exotic blitzes and stuff, but you much rather have 4 guys that can powerhouse their way to a quarterback.
Now, a team that needs to make a move, or needs their move to happen, is the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers.
They need a
in
quarterback.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at a really good AFC North, especially if the Steelers get Aaron Rodgers. You got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, of course the Browns, but the Browns, they're not going to. Browns are going to Browns.
The Browns are going to Brown. And I think I love these edge rushers, these Max Crosbys, these Myles Garretts, these guys. No. These guys that are not him. These guys that are like, I'm mad about where I'm at, and then they get broke off. They're like, never wanted to leave. Actually, I love it. It's a game of chess. It's a beautiful game of chess, and I think that's awesome, because at the end of the day, we want our boys to get paid.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett needs to bring his big piece on this podcast.
Yeah.
And we need to show him that photo and be like, is this real or is this enhanced?
Just all of us wearing grays on the pod.
Yeah, just grays.
Yeah.
That would actually.
What do you think? What do you think of the rumor or the headline with Aaron Rodgers and the Vikings?
I don't know. It'd be cool for the story, because he's following the exact footsteps of Brett Favre, but it didn't work out that great for Brett Favre. Like I like
he
him.
Was spinning it there for a second.
He was spinning it, but I like Aaron Rodgers. I feel like still has more. I believe he has more tread on the tires than people believe he has. I think he's still that guy, and he needs a good room. And I think the Steelers make so much sense to me to have DK Metcalf, George Pickens.
Yeah, but Buddy
and
Addison,
Buddy,
Justin Jefferson.
I understand, but
O'Connell.
If it's me, I would want to write my own story a little bit differently. I think it's just because of the Brett Favre progression. I love Tomlin too. I think I love the fit for the Steelers. Obviously, he's going to do what he wants, and there are the rumors that Aaron Rodgers is kind of just waiting on the Vikings. But I think you got JJ sitting there. Pat Mahomes comes out and says JJ McCarthy has the best arm he's seen in forever. He can make all the throws, all the things. And it's like, you have those weapons. It's a great learning curve for a guy like JJ McCarthy, it'll be his first year starting. He saw Sam Darnold have the success he did. He's got the guys you just said as weapons to dish it out to and allow them to make the plays to build his confidence. Like, why not? Why not go with this kid unless they know something that we don't know?
That's probably what's taking so long for the Vikings to get back. Because it's like, if you're Aaron Rodgers, I think the Vikings would be the better fit over these teams that are trying to get Aaron Rodgers. Because again, you're going into an offense that goes with O'Connell, Wes Phillips. You got Brian Flores as the D coordinator. Like, that's a defense that's going to continue to just get better. They're already very aggressive. Like, you're going in a situation that's prime for a run. The Steelers, they've gotten better. But again, who knows how much, if you're Aaron Rodgers looking at it and you're looking at the Steelers and the Vikings, I just think the Vikings would be a better situation to go into.
Yeah. And it's not the end of the world. It might be a better situation for JJ if Aaron comes in. Another guy to learn from, a vet that's been there for a while. Hopefully Aaron takes a leadership role and be like, all right, I'll bring this guy along with me.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. But
I honestly think this is the last year for Aaron.
I mean, very well could be.
Yeah. You were talking about just tread on the tire. I'm thinking, maybe 2 years max, but this is a 1 year all in situation for whichever team's trying to get him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it could benefit JJ, but I'm sure that's probably what's taking the Vikings so long, is they're having all of these conversations to see like what kind of move that they could make for Aaron Rodgers.
He'll be turning 42 at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Ripping.
He's getting up there, but hey, he can still spin it.
He can spin it, and he's got some savviness about him.
Yeah.
He's got an energy about him.
Again, you're talking about Tomlin, who's much more of a defensive-minded guy.
Yeah, but
Arthur Smith, like that would be a great combination. And then you look at the Vikings, you got Phillips and you got O'Connell. Like that is an offensive mentality right there to where they're just level 2. They're just operating level 2 and 3. And again, you got these cats that have played for those coaches and been in the system. You got a dog in Justin Jefferson as your one. Yeah, you do have Pickens and DK, but you know JJ is about that life in ball. Addison, Aaron Jones. I mean, you have some weapons.
Studs. I'm with you.
Good offensive line.
I'm with you. I just see like everyone's conversation revolves around Aaron Rodgers, not his talent, a little bit about his age, but mostly it's about all the extracurriculars that go on around him. People talk about the distraction, the Pat McAfee show, and all these things. I've never seen a coach like Tomlin handle those types of situations. You go back to Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, like having those types of guys, the Pouncey brothers, Alejandro Villanueva, all these unique and different personalities under one roof. It seems like Tomlin is a guy that can always keep the boat level in those situations. And I think that's why he would mesh so well with Aaron Rodgers and get the best of Aaron Rodgers, allowing him to do the X, Y, and Z things. Let him run the playbook he wants to run. I know I've seen Arthur Smith sit down with Ryan Tannehill before games, and Tannehill bluntly going, I don't want this play called. I want this play called. Make sure you call this on that. And you listen to those conversations and you go into the game and you're realizing situations that Ryan was talking about with Smith are now being called and we're having success from that.
Yeah.
So Arthur does a great job of collaborating with his quarterbacks and just allowing things to kind of come to him, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. I mean, good options all around.
Yeah.
But the Minnesota can't beat. You want me to hit that real quick?
Yeah, let's shout out the boy Bert Kreischer.
Got to talk about Bert Kreischer. Once again, I want to remind everybody that he put up 325 pounds. The bet was 320, and so now we must promote him. One thing, but once again, we have another ad read with 2 things on it. Las Vegas show, Double Down, 321 and 322 at Resorts World Theater, Las Vegas. Tickets on sale at BertBertBert.com. And his new special, Lucky, out only on Netflix March 18th. That is today, folks.
Yeah. Shout out the boy Bert.
Shout out the boy. Oh. Bad throw. Better throw. Better throw. So yeah, dude. A lot of exciting things.
Yeah.
A lot of exciting things.
March Madness draft is coming.
Mitch's mustache. He is a different man.
We need to get a photo of Jared up too. Jared shaved his face, and I think the audience needs to see Jared.
Yeah.
So
he looks like
capture a photo.
Prepubescent.
What's that kids movie, the Spy Kids with the thumbs?
Thumbs.
Yeah. Yep. That's Jared.
Yeah, he's down bad right now.
Thumbs are ripped.
The head part.
True.
Yeah. He did look wild. And I was being nice to Jared. I was like, oh yeah, that's all right, it'll grow back, whatever. Will walked in like, God damn.
So you don't look like a goon anymore.
Is that not Jared right there?
Just throw some glasses on it.
Stacked.
Them boys are ripped. What a good movie. What a good movie. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we let these people listen to Steve Rinella?
We have to get into our spicy tier talk for best wingman.
That's right.
I know we just we did a little Bert Kreischer moment, but let's talk to you about Roe. This spicy tier talk about best wingmen. It can be fiction, real life. Fiction, real life. Yeah, sci-fi. It can be anything. Is brought to us by our partner Roe. Your intimacy with your partner matters, and boys, you need to have that blood going around the clock when you're trying to spice it up and have some fun. And Rose Sparks are a 2-in-1 prescription treatment for guys who need a secret weapon against softness. They hit the bloodstream faster because they dissolve under your tongue, and getting hard faster means there's no waiting. There's no more waiting to perform. After Rose Sparks dissolve, they work within 15 minutes on average. Rose Sparks can give guys thicker, longer erections because they get fuller. Rose Sparks gives you the boost to last longer so everyone gets more pleasure, and it stays active in your system up to 36 hours so you can go back to back to back, round after round, be ready the morning after, Jackie Boy. It connects guys with a medical provider, and it's all 100% online, so there's no awkward conversation with in-person providers, and if approved, treatment ships directly to their door. Connect with a provider at road.co/bussin to find out if prescription Rose Sparks are right for you. Patients, new health patients, get $15 off Sparks on a recurring plan. That's ro.co/bussin for $15 off your first order. Our spicy tier talk of best wingmen in the game. Taylor, you've looked in, you had a smile on your face that you might be ready to roll.
Yeah, I feel good about mine.
Yeah?
I feel strong about mine. Saw this last night and I immediately got on my phone and started looking up the greatest wingmen in pop culture history, and I realized that the answer's been in front of me the whole time.
Oh,
I
please
know
tell us
exactly.
more.
So my tier 3 is going to go to Doug Glatt. Doug the Thug Glatt, the movie Goon. He is the greatest wingman of all time. LaFlemme, he is a goal-scoring hawk on the Highlanders, and he can shoot and score, but he's lost a little bit of confidence after he took a big hit. Doug the Thug Glatt comes in and protects him, bringing his confidence back to a whole new level. Willing to make the sacrifices physically so his boys can make the goals finessely. So I have to give Doug the Thug Glatt my tier 3 when it comes to wingmen. My tier 2 could have easily been tier 1, by the way. This is like a 1A, 1B for me. Is going to go to Jeremy Gray, Wedding Crashers. That is Vince Vaughn's character. A man who has the moves he does, tells the jokes he does, he rambles on and lays on the sword for Owen Wilson, his character John, while he's trying to court this woman over and over again, and eventually finding love along the way. There's not a better wingman than that except for my tier 1. Now, my tier 1 is a real individual. I've seen so many times this man close for his boys, whether it was college or high school or wherever. He's talked about it on Bad Friends podcast. My tier 1 is myself. I am the greatest wingman of all time. No, Mooch. I've done work for Mooch too. I've done work for all my boys, dude. There's nothing about a shameless friend that's willing to walk over to anyone at any time and tell them, hey, I'm here for you, but not just me. My boy's more here for you than anybody else could ever be in their entire lives. Walk with me, talk with me, and I'm going to bring you over to them. Have a couple drinks, see where the night goes. Bet a high percentage too. Bet at a high percentage. Not to mention also from a recruiting standpoint at the University of Michigan, I only lost one guy ever. All right? I only lost one guy in the recruiting pitch. So that's my tier talk.
Man, Gary gave himself to tier 1.
He's at 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
Self-glaze.
Yeah,
Nice.
very safe week to do that with no JP on the bus. That could have been.
I thought about putting
huge
Patrick
issue.
Starr as my honorable mention for JP as a tip of the cap to JP.
I have some tears.
I want to hear your word first.
Solid.
Well done, hyphenated.
Hyphenated, big guys.
Vain.
Good.
But good, though.
All hyphenated.
In a good way. Vain, but in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, all big guys is a good comment. Gee, that's detailed. That's thought out. Big guys.
I'm trying to figure out how to rate them. How to rate my 3 right now.
Okay.
Because I love them all.
Take a moment. Take a second. Not too long, though.
I think you have to. My tier 3 is going to be Vince Vaughn from Wedding Crashers.
Wow. Sorry, you have the floor.
Well, you think that's low?
You have the floor. We could break all that.
Do you think
down.
that's low?
Yeah. I mean, Vince Vaughn.
Incredible.
Wedding Crashers.
The maneuvering he does. Thinking on his feet.
It's a boost talking.
Yes, the boost talking. Ouch, ouch, on my hair.
Just a tip, just for a second, just to see how it feels.
I think Vince Vaughn is my 3. My 2, and man, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to go with the boy. I'm going to go with the boy Taylor. And he's right. Like, I have zero experience with him, but you see the man work, and this is a guy you talk about no quit. Fighting to the end if he were to get a challenge like that. I do think it is Taylor. Like Taylor is up there. I mean, you're tier 2. Wow. And honestly, it pained me to hear you tell yourself tier 1. Because honestly, I was about to put you there.
Really? I was kind of hoping you go first. With the hope that this is, sorry, go ahead. I'm all smiles right now. My cheeks hurt.
But yeah, man, I think it's you. I think again, a lot like Vince Vaughn. Very first podcast we did on OTP, like my comparison for you, like personality wise and everything else, was Vince Vaughn out of like a Wedding Crashers movie. And I think you operate on that kind of level. And I give you the nod because I have a personable relationship with you. So I give you the nod over Vince Vaughn, Vincey, if you're out there watching. My tier 1 is going to be none other than Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother. I think Barney Stinson is... Yeah, have you met Ted? He's a wordsmith. He's suited. He's like, let's suit up. He's got a theme for all of it when you're stepping out. He's like, let's get suited up. Let's get suits on. He's got a closet full of them. And he's just... That show, How I Met Your Mother, is probably my favorite sitcom. I think we've done Tier Talk before on sitcoms, and I do believe How I Met Your Mother might have been my number 1. But I love that show, and I love the character of Barney Stinson, and I think that guy is the number 1 wingman in the game. And if you ever had a night out or had the ability to have one with him, I think it would be a memory that you never forget in your life. And so that's my Tier Talk.
I'm watching How I Met Your Mother for the first time right now, season 4. So I'm very happy I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. How great is that show?
Phenomenal.
It's so good.
Such a good show.
Ted is a bitch, though.
Whoa.
That bothers me.
Yeah,
it bothers me
it's
how much of a bitch he
That's
can act
an
like sometimes.
insane take.
Yeah.
I don't like how much. I think he's a little.
So fine.
Yeah, Robin rips.
He has his moments for sure.
And in all the moments I'm thinking about in my head of him being a bitch, I have actually done myself. But still, it's watching it. It's like, God damn it, man. You're better.
He's
than
the
this.
vulnerable one.
Stand up for yourself. Yeah, but you can be vulnerable. You can be vulnerable yet dangerous. You can feel strong yet have a soft side. You can have all the things. It just shows.
But then the side characters aren't what they are unless Ted is the way he is. You know what I mean?
True. Well written.
Yeah, very well written.
My one word: amazing, elite, incredible,
greatest you've ever done.
Yeah, I've never had a better moment on this podcast. Hyphenated.
Legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
Yes, sir. Let's go, Jack.
G looked at me and he goes, "Wait for it, dairy." And then he asked for the mic. I go, "Don't steal mine, man." So that's me and G's, I guess. G, yours?
Tier 2. That's my hyphenated. Tier 2.
Damn good.
The Boys.
Fuck. Might have been my favorite Tier Talk of all time.
And now that you guys said that too, I'm thinking like, damn, that was a good Tier Talk.
He's smiling about it.
And if I would have went first, I think you would have been the one.
Really?
Yeah, I just the double back you would have. He said kiss.
Kiss up.
Yeah, because I think you got it, man.
I'm surprised you didn't put.
I just wanted to put a fictional character too, and everybody, like, if you've watched How I Met Your Mother, everyone knows.
Barney
like,
is elite.
Once Barney Stinson rolls off the tongue, it's gonna be.
I'm surprised you didn't do Ryan Reynolds.
What's that?
I'm surprised you didn't do Ryan Reynolds.
In what?
Like Deadpool?
Just in general.
Yeah, just his
he's
style
married.
in Deadpool.
Yeah.
He gets the attention, but will
hosed.
dish it away.
Ryan Reynolds, they're kind of in a different.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on the internet between Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, really? Should we dive into it?
Yeah, something. Yeah. Not the best, yeah? Not a good look for a boy.
Bad.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Can I say something without knowing nothing?
Go ahead.
Can I say something without knowing? I don't know any context at all about this.
Yes.
So I'm just going to say something. I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, that wasn't.
Yeah. No. I wasn't gonna. I mean, I just, regardless of what's happened, he's talented and I like him. I like his stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think
Okay.
that's
You thought where were you?
No, I didn't know. That's why I was kind of like,
Yeah,
oh
okay.
no.
I just feel like a lot of times when this stuff happens, people just toss you out to the side. Ryan, I want you to know I'm still a fan of your work.
Yeah, Ryan.
Of your work.
Of your piece.
You probably have a beautiful piece.
Yeah, I'm fired up about that Tier Talk. You know who just missed the cut? And again, zero experience,
Joey.
but you just assume based on the
From
stories
Friends.
and everything else. Delaney.
Oh shit!
Man.
Honorable mention to Delaney Walker.
Yeah, good call.
Because I was like, do I want to go like, do I want to have two characters fictional? Because I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about Taylor. I'm thinking about Delaney. I'm even thinking about my boy Logan.
Logan?
Yeah, bro.
He's like that?
He's just got this spirit about him. He'll approach anybody. He'll approach any group, and being on bachelor parties and everything else with them. Like, he's just got that spirit about him to where it, he's not the most intimidating, but he has a confidence that it doesn't, you know what I mean? You know what it's like, you might eye up a table of gals or a group walks
couple
in,
of ladies.
and the boys, and I'm one of them. You kind of wonder where you're nervous. You're
Middle
like,
school
hey,
dance ass.
Yeah. Like I'm one of the more nervous guys. I'm not like a Taylor. I'm not like the guys. It's like they don't think nothing of it. They have the confidence, they have the bravado and everything else. I don't know if it was the teeth I had when I was young to where there's just like a festering that happens where it's like, hey, you know, how are we gonna go approach this group? And there's just a guy in the group that just seems to have the confidence all the confidence in the world you're like game strategizing with the fellas, and then there's this one that's like, oh yeah, why are we spending so much time talking about this?
He's
like,
already at the table.
He's at the table like while you're talking.
He's Leroy Jenkins. Right now.
And he's got the ladies coming over to where you're mixing it up, you're talking and everything else. And Logan's got that. He's got that ability.
Shout out Logan, man.
Shout out the boy Logan.
Because you need a guy.
Yeah.
You need a guy that hits it.
You need a guy.
And a lot of times the guys that are like the type of confidence, they're in it for themselves. They like to go in. They know what they're doing. They know what their mission is.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of guy. It's like you gotta push it off this. Hey, this is how are you? Everything's good. Boom. Pass the ball. You gotta pass the ball to your boys.
But that ball ultimately comes back around. I mean, we're very happily married, but I'm
trying to process the ball back around thing.
But
you're saying they come back
around,
here.
like yes, the vibe you give off,
Gotcha.
it ultimately works back in your favor because you're making it all happen. You're like the guy that's
facilitating.
Yeah, that's facilitated the whole thing. And then the ladies start talking to that gentleman because they have the ability, they have that approachable ability. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
It's like the guys that are like us, you can get in your own head about how your game and your strategy is going to be. And it's like paralysis by analysis. You're like overthinking it. With the guys who can approach and do everything else, they're making it about a purpose bigger than themselves. But at the end of the day, that one can win.
I've never seen it more beautifully done than a guy like Rob Muji.
Yeah,
and
I was wondering if Rob was gonna make.
No, because I never seen him really be a wingman. Like Rob is definitely one of those cats. Like even in high school, like we would go to places and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go home and change real quick," and then he just would not ever come back out because somebody would come over or something like that. And even now, like. I remember specifically, like when my wife and I first met, I went and got pizza with Rob, my wife Talon, and one of Talon's friends. And Rob comes in, we say, "What's up?" I introduce them. It's the first time Talon and this girl have met Rob. Rob goes, "I'm gonna use the bathroom." We sit down, Talon goes, "He's fucking hot." And I'm trying to court Talon. So I'm like in this like interesting little like, okay, how do I navigate that world right now, right? Because I brought you, but I realized this is what Rob Muji's beach and you're the sand, and that scares me a little bit. But Rob just has it about him, and Rob, it's not about Rob and how like confident he is. It's the laugh, it's the smile and the laugh and that beautiful head of hair that he has. Yeah, he has it. Mike Campanaro has it. Who else? There's one other.
Campbell. He's like a guy that'll approach.
Yeah, he's a guy that approach. But I feel like
honorable mention to Mike Campanaro.
Honorable mention to Mike Campanaro. But also, is Mike working for the boy or is Mike working for Mike? That's where the wingman thing gets a little pulled apart right there. Yeah. Because I think Mike walks into a situation, he sees the field. He sees the entire field. He's got no peripheral vision issues. Yeah. He knows where he's going. He gets where he's going, and then he gets out of there. Like Mike's a ninja smoke type of guy. Yeah. Like all of a sudden you'll see a dust and he'll be just out of the room. And that's what I think is beautiful. That's a whole nother game that I don't.
There's a lot of rules out there.
Right.
A lot of rules out there.
Yeah. Mike's a finisher.
Yeah.
He's a finisher. He's a closer.
Mike's like a put me behind the 8 ball and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Like it's almost better if Mike stumbles and falls to the ground at first. He's like, good. Got the first hit out of the way type of mentality. Yeah. So yeah, dude. Shout out fucking the boy. Shout out this tier talk.
Yeah. Fun tier talk. Mm-hmm. Should we dive into the interview?
Absolutely.
Just bouncy ball everywhere. We will dive into this interview after we shout out and neutral. By the way. Neutral. Anheuser-Busch, baby.
Yep. Neutral tastes great. Tastes so much better than what else is out there. Neutral is made with real vodka and real juice. Neutral comes in a variety of flavors. Some of their popular flavors: pineapple, watermelon, orange, black cherry, and their new flavors, lime and strawberry. Perfect for social occasions, and this thing is a crowd pleaser. Let's see here. Let me tell you about Neutral real quick. 3-4 years ago, I'm in British Columbia, Canada. There's a little bush league going, a little softball league. They're, hey, we're going to the Busch Garden. We're going to hang out. We're going to booze. We're going to have a great time. We go into this liquor store. They come out. Quinn, Talon's brother's like, you got to try these things. I look at him like, was it Neutral? He's like, no, Neutral. We grab these things. I put out 3, 4, 5, 15 of these boys throughout the day.
15.
Well, probably through the course. You know what I'm saying? We got to bump numbers up when we're talking.
Yeah.
These things taste delicious, feel great. There's just enough carbonation in there where your tummy's not upset. It's actually settling. Neutral. This stuff, especially if you're watching that beautiful figure of yours. Phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. Neutral. Keep it tasty.
Dude, shout out Anheuser-Busch, man. I'm
For
so
real.
fired up.
For real.
So fired up.
God.
Enjoy.
No, I'm just fired up.
Big hugs, tiny kisses.
Gotta have it.
Enjoy Steve Rinella.
Subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe.
Love it. Leave comments. All right. Welcome to Bussin' with the Boys. This interview is brought to you by Bud Light.
My God.
Steve Rinella, you are our very first Bud Light interview of our lives, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in it big. We've made it big. Bud Light, they're the official sponsor of the NFL, NFL Draft, UFC, Shane Gillis' 2025 tour. Shout out to boy Shane Gillis.
Mm-hmm.
And we're working with some juggernauts now.
Yeah, dude. Peyton Manning, George Kittle, Baker Mayfield, Emmitt Smith, Post Malone, Dustin Poirier. There is something about the bow tie. There's something about Anheuser-Busch in general, but Bud Light, sitting down with your boys, hanging out, having that drink. And now we have like a company that sits there and they're like, yo, we want to align with you.
Go with the boys.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light, shout out St. Louis, Missouri. Steve Rinella. I will say, Taylor, I don't know if you feel this way, and I don't want to slight any guest we've ever had, but I feel like Steve is the most fascinating guest that we've gotten to sit around, talk with, experience. And I'm excited for this interview because you're deeper than all of us. I feel like every story that you tell, you can just hang out with you and you have a story for absolutely everything. And you get to learn about you a little bit. You start to find your niche in writing, and you have this way of storytelling and bridging the non-hunters with the hunters, the conservation stuff, just the history of hunting. You're able to bring it all in every experience, or the 2 experiences that we've had hunting with you. So I feel like you're the most fascinating guest we're going to have on this podcast.
That's great, man. No, I don't want to say anything to ruin it now.
Yeah.
When it's going to end.
No, he's absolutely right. Like coming up here last year, we went on a little duck hunt, and there was obviously some nerves because we knew, like, we were aware of you from. Well, I mean, the first time I saw you was on Joe Rogan.
Okay,
and just the amount of passion and how intentional you are about conservation, about hunting, all like. And now Will and I, who are 2 domesticated cats, are walking into Montana, like God's country, to sit with you and all your professional buddies to go on a hunt. It's like, man, I hope these guys like kind of embrace us a little bit, because I don't know if you've like I don't know if you notice it, but like in the man's man community, there's always like this like egotistical like kind of dick measuring competition going on. I don't know if you guys would be like kind of laughing at us, but we came in and you guys were awesome. Like you guys just treated us as like legit, like we were kids, but in a good way. Like, hey, we're going to teach you up. These are the do's, these are the don'ts. You guys are great with gun safety and all that. So it's been a fun second experience as well. It's just awesome. So we do appreciate it. What is it like having guests that don't necessarily know what they're doing in the hunting world?
I enjoy it. I've always liked it because it lets you. Like it lets you see the world through fresh perspective, a new perspective. I got started in doing a lot of the outdoor stuff, hunting, fishing, and trapping and all that. I got into very young, so I have no recollection of starting out doing it. And it's exciting for me to bring people in and have them see it for the first time. That's one of the reasons I like to get out with my kids a lot and just like kind of see it through new, see it through a new perspective. And I think at a point too, when you get like,
sorry, light switch is right
there. I thought it all just turned off.
I know, I thought I did too. What kind of operation you running, Steve?
Let me slide this over.
What happened?
Oh, he bumped the light switch there. So
we're still rolling though.
We're still rolling.
All right, great.
Power didn't go out. Just the lights here.
Go out with your kids. New perspective.
Yeah, and then there's a thing that happened. I'd hear people say that this happens, but I couldn't even picture it happening. People say, well, eventually it's just more fun to like see other people have success,
Mm-hmm.
I got this buddy of mine, dude named Zuck, that I hang out with a lot.
Does he own Facebook?
No.
Okay.
No.
Mark Zuckerberg?
No, this dude's last name is just straight up Zuck.
Okay.
Nice.
It just ends at the K. Guy Zuck, call him Mother Zucker. This dude, like, so he's hunted his whole life, you know. He don't hunt now. He only like it's just like he just don't.
Really?
He seldom, yeah. He just likes to take people and just whatever it is, he just has where he doesn't need to do it anymore. He just wants to like help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I could picture I'm not there, but I could picture that more and more happening, right? It's just fun to take people, I think.
Did you have fun watching me miss that coyote yesterday?
I had more fun watching that happen than if I had gotten it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Seems like it sounds like based on listening to the other conversations, you could have had an opportunity to get it too.
Well,
there was a gun in your hand and you decided to laugh.
Garrett did say if I had that gas gun, I would have put it down right when you missed it.
Well, no, the main thing is I woke up in the
Garrett
morning.
was talking crazy.
Yeah,
I was telling you, I woke up in the morning and I thought I was going to grab my shotgun. If we'd had a shotgun, we'd have had it. But he came in, he came hard and fast.
Yeah.
On rabbit number 6 was the sound we were playing.
Yeah. Yeah. You were messing with that caller like you were playing a video game. You're like, oh, I got these new calls. Let me try them out.
Dude, was it Max?
Yeah.
Max was showing me the film, and dude, the intensity you came. He's like, "He's on the right. Okay, yeah. All right, shoot him. Go. You get it,
bro. And
you gonna shoot him?" And I'm just thinking, putting myself in Will's position. Like, holy shit,
I
dude.
was so nervous
I
because
couldn't imagine.
Steve was under the weather, so he wasn't at the shooting range the day before when we're trying to dial in the shots and you're messing with the tripod and you're trying to lock it in and get a good shot. And obviously the targets aren't moving. So when we get there the next morning, they're like, "Hey, Will, you're gonna go with Steve." I'm like, "Oh, all right." You know, you're feeling the nerves. Like, all right, I want to try and make Steve proud. This is my captain. And so we sit down, and within sitting down, within 5 minutes, he puts the call out there, and right away it's like, hey, there's one there on the right. Get on it. Are you on it? All right, you're gonna shoot it. Shoot it when it stops. And then I'm trying to get it dialed in and realizing my tripod, like, okay, I can't set up to where I get it tightened up and I'm scoping in on this coyote. Like, it doesn't seem like it's going to stop. This thing's moving.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, shoot it when it stops. And then it wasn't stopping and it keeps coming in faster and faster. And the vlog will be out soon. And I start just trying to follow it on the scope. And he's like, shoot it. And then there's a pause and he goes, are you going to shoot it? And I'm like, yeah. I take a shot and miss. And I look to the right and I see Steve and he's just laughing, just having a fun time.
It blows me away. Like you, Steve, and I was with Garrett. And we're like, just the intentional walking. First off, you guys are men's on mission. Like, you guys are just going at a pace that there's no domesticated human being can actually go at. And this
just
altitude,
the rate of walking.
Just the rate of walking.
That's my specialty.
But Garrett will just start walking, and I'll be like walking behind him, like kind of like watching his feet and stepping where he steps. And then all of a sudden he'll just abruptly stop like a duck. And just kind of like look around a little bit. And he's like, right over there. That's where we're going to go. I was like, all right, I have no idea what you saw. But picking out, even doing the targets the day before, he'd be like, all right, go to F, whatever it is, about 750 yards off to your left. And I'm just like, I got this scope in my hand. I'm just doing figure eights, trying to figure out like, where the hell is this F? And I'd find the number, like, all right, to the left of that. Okay, to the right of that. And it's just you guys' ability to just see the world out of the live animals that are walking around is just mind blowing.
Yeah, that kind of stuff like definitely comes from a lot of exposure. And shooting at the range is great, and you learn a lot shooting at the range, but you can't replicate the stuff like what we saw with where there's like timing.
Yeah,
timing, and then trying to predict like behavior, and it's tough, man. It's tough. You just gotta have it takes a ton of field experience. But the walking deal, that's the thing that's always bummed me out, is there's no sort of glory. There's no like Olympics shit. Do you know what I mean? There's no like championship.
Something that you can get a medal
for just walking through the woods, man, or like walking. You know what I mean? Like there's no record. There's no way that you ever get formal recognition for just being really good at like a measured pace walk.
Do you take pride
in governing body?
You take pride in your pacing? Yeah. Like, are you aware that you're just burying me as we're climbing those mountains?
I'm aware that, like, yeah.
He's not only aware, but
if I started to run, I would have shin splints. It'd be terrible. But if it's just like a walking, it's like I'm like extremely good at just regular walking.
Yeah, dude, we're climbing those mountains.
Not just regular walking, dude, but catching those beavers too. Like I felt like a newborn deer just trying to like get around. And then all of a sudden I'm like in the mud sinking. And you were smart too. Cause at one point you're like, hey, if you want, I'll just grab these other traps. And I'm like a little kid. I'm like, no, I'll go with you, Dad. And Will's in the back, like, I'll stay here. You've had enough of Steve.
Yeah, you boys
and
got
like,
it.
I'll just come with.
Yeah.
We're walking around. I'm in the middle of telling some story that Steve doesn't give two shits about. And I just like, my left leg all of a sudden just goes like, 3 feet in the thing. And I'm like kind of stuck for a little bit. He's getting like multiple traps while I'm like prying my leg out. You just understand terrain.
That spot where I was joking had you walk into that spring.
Yeah.
And get stuck in that muck.
Yeah, which was also
like,
crazy.
It's like up to my sternum.
I keep
like,
joking about.
I almost died in there. Will, go ahead and check it out.
Yeah, so there's a spring. It's a warm spring. It's not warm to the touch, but warmer than it stays open year round, where that water comes out of there. And I'd waded in there, and I was joking about getting stuck in there, but like later, like I went into this little muck pocket and got stuck, and then later was kind of like thinking like, man, but you were, to myself, like I was stuck.
Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, what would you even have done, man? And I'm like, well, because my buddy pulled me out of there, but I had my phone right here, so I would have been fine. But like the second time I went back there when I was with you, I left my phone on the dashboard. And you encounter all kinds of close calls in your life and stuff. But dude, if no one knew where you were and I'd got stuck in that mud, I don't know that I had a couple things I could have tried to get out of that mud hole. But I don't know that I would have gotten out of that mud hole. I'd have been calling someone trying to explain where I was.
Yeah, because we were talking through it. You would have had to take off your waders and try and like swim out.
That'd be the thing I guess the next thing you try is take off your waders. There's this place, and this is a harrowing story, but you guys ever been to the town of Anchorage, Alaska?
Mm-mm.
No, I have not.
There's
hurt stories.
Yeah. Know about it.
Captain Cook? You ever hear of Captain Cook?
Does he have a cereal?
The great sailor? No, the cereal.
I've heard of Captain Hook.
Yeah,
so there's Captain Hook. Yeah. There's this, the city of Anchorage is on this thing called Cook Inlet, and there's a arm of Cook Inlet called Turnagain Arm, and it's got silt, like it's different kind of muck, but it's got silt like that, and but it's also got a tide. And there was a story from years ago. It's just so like harrowing to think about, where a woman walked out on that muck, got stuck in that muck. And the tide was coming up, and there's like first responders there trying to extricate her from the muck. And no joke, just drowned her.
God, that would be such a scary way to go out.
Because you're not only stuck in the muck, but then the fucking water rises, man.
Yeah, it'd be like,
and that's just the worst, man. You know what I mean? Think about that. And I was telling you guys about that dude in the ice, shit like that haunts you,
just
man.
being found frozen, holding herself up.
Knowing that you're trying to get out and just there's nobody around.
But the lady in Alaska getting stuck, like she's got to be so panicked, and then see the first responders, and there's got to be a sense of relief. Like, all right, I'm going to get out of here. And they go to help her. But then they're like, hey, the water's getting too hot. We got to get out of here. And they have to essentially make the conscious decision that we have to walk away from this lady and let her die.
Yeah.
Trying to help her breathe through a tube and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's certain like like weird. But, with outdoor stuff, people spend a lot of time. I've written about this before in various ways. People spend a lot of time thinking about, I'm going to get attacked by a mountain lion.
Me.
I'm gonna get attacked by a grizzly bear, which is great to think about. But like, then when you're out messing around and doing stuff, you realize all these kind of like really mundane, dumb ways to have something bad happen to you. But all your mental energy is like, me and my buddies rise like this never-ending debate. Like, should you have your pistol or your bear spray? And you don't even think about, or you just get stuck in the muck.
You're stuck in the muck, can't get out. Can't get out.
What's been your
have all the
closest
pistols
call?
you want, but you're just stuck in the muck, man.
What's been your closest call?
In reviewing it back in my head, there's a thing that happened with in Southeast Alaska. We have a little fish shack in a remote area of Southeast Alaska. You fly into our fish shack, and before me and my wife were married, we were out one night, and it was right around between Christmas and New Year's. And we were out on our boat at night, coming back from deer hunting, and hit a submerged log so hard that it like we were going pretty fast trying to get back before it got dark, and hit a submerged log so bad that it knocked the engine back up in the boat. Like the engine like bam up into the boat, on the tilt, and the bow dove down and just scooped up a big old mouthful of water in that bow. And we were out in this big channel, and the water there's, at that time of year, the water there's upper 40s, and you can't last any time in that water, and dude, like reviewing it in my head, we were like, so you never made the beach. I used to know that I met this guy that was Coast Guard up in Ketchikan, which is near there, and him talking about going to distressed vessel things, and he said, like, it's always the same thing. Like, people's die in the water so fast. And then he said one time they do a call and they get there and there's 2 people that were, they had hit the beach, but they're just dead on the beach from hypothermia,
Yeah.
And that water up there is serious. And I've always taken my kids out, and we take them out and they realize, like, it's you're just playing with, I don't want to say playing with fire, because like a lot of people do it. It's just that's a sketchy environment,
Yeah.
And I'll bring up to them, or bring up to other parents, I'm talking about having kids and raising kids, is like, I like to kind of put them in what I call an arena of consequence. Do you mean, like, to bring your kids into situations where there's like real ramifications to stuff?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like real, and I like to do that with them, but then sometimes you also realize that if something bad happened, you can imagine like the articles about what an idiot you were.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who would ever take little children?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out in some 18-foot skiff?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you'd be like, and people be like, oh, Darwin Awards, and all that shit,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And you'd be remembered as the idiot.
They wanted to put him in an arena of consequences.
Yep. And you would, they wouldn't remember you as like the dad trying to like make his kids
trying
tough.
to make him better.
You're gonna learn today.
Yeah.
Dude. We when we were trapping, you were talking about just like these muskrats, and hey, they used to be like $45. Now you can probably get like $5 for these beavers, and like you could see the passion in your face and your voice about just trapping. And you even said, like, when I was growing up, that's what I wanted to be, was a trapper.
I was all in.
Which to me, growing up in Arizona, I think it was like one of the craziest comments I've ever heard in my life. Like, I never even thought that like died in the 1800s.
Well, there's a lot
of being a trapper. But
next time we talk, I'll explain that there was a path forward for you in Arizona. As a Bobcat man.
As a Bobcat man. But
I can outline it for you later. What you would have needed to have done.
Yeah, to be a Bobcat trapper. But I see, like, obviously the MeatEater brand has become, every time we come here, or the last 2 times we come here, like, I was in Vegas this past weekend. People are like, hey, the MeatEater stuff you guys did was awesome.
Well,
all my
cool.
buddies in Cave Creek are like, I can't believe you got to do that. Yeah. You know Cave Creek?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shout out the boys.
Yeah.
But you've built such an awesome like company and everything like that. Like, where did you transition from, I'm going to be a trapper, to, you know what, I'm going to start writing. I'm going to start being a conservationist. I'm going to go and, I'm going to start a company called MeatEater and make people more aware of hunting and fishing and the right way to go about these things. Like, when did that big transition happen for you?
So I started trapping muskrats when I was 10 and was just like consumed by it. One of the reasons I liked it, well, it was kind of, there's these 2 things that would work together on it. Like, I liked doing it, but I was also very interested in, remember we were talking about Daniel Boone?
Mm-hmm.
I was very interested in these guys that we now call long hunters, like the early deerskin hunters, and very interested in mountain men and these other groups of guys that would go out and just supply the skin trade, like fur trappers and hunters and shit. I was just fascinated by that stuff. Part of why I was fascinated by it is because I liked to do it too. And these were these iconic American figures who made their livings doing that and had all these wild ass adventures, right? So when I was little, I wanted to make my living doing, like, as a hunter and trapper. the only contemporary version of that would have been being a sort of like generalist trapper, who traps for fur and whatever else when they're growing up, or getting older. And it just became untenable. At the same time, it became untenable because the economics didn't work out, because there's a market that like really fluctuates wildly. I got interested in writing. And for a while I thought, well, what I'll do is I thought I could supplement my income from trapping as writing articles about trapping. Went to college as an afterthought. Like, I don't really know. What's the test you're supposed to take when you, like, what, the ACTs? Is that what you take?
It's an SAT and ACT.
People tell me there's no way this is true. I know I went down and took the ASVAB. I took the military test and thought about going in the Army for a minute, changed my mind. I don't think I took the college test. Like, I honest to God don't think it. I remember going down to the community college where I grew up was in Muskegon County, Michigan. I went down to the community college and I wrote a check for $600 for a semester of night classes. And I began college like reluctantly.
Really? Reluctantly.
Dude, and kind of fell in love with it. But I took 2 years of night classes and just kind of started getting into school and like getting more into writing. And then pretty soon I was very focused and dedicated on like becoming a writer. Whenever I give professional advice, I always point this out. Like, when I give professional advice now to people, I always tell them, like, if I'm talking to kids or whatever, I tell them, like, never have a plan B. You guys probably know what I'm talking about because you made it in a thing that was impossible to make it into. Like, it's impossible to be in the NFL, right?
Right.
So it's like, kill any plan B because it'll be more seductive, it'll be easy, and you'll do plan B. If the plan B is sitting there, it'll be, the draw is too strong. Like, you'll be sucked into your
when
plan
adversity
B.
strikes, you'll look back at that plan B and be like, it would be easier just to do that.
I could just pivot to this lane.
Yeah.
Yep. And so even though my plan A was like to be a trapper, my plan B was to be a writer. Once I settled on that idea, kind of like the sort of an adult notion of what to do is like to be a writer, I was either going to do that or I was going to die. You know what I mean? Like, there was no other option. Like, I never entertained other options about it.
Outside of writing?
Yeah. I was like, I was going to make it work as a writer. And for years, it's hard for years, right? Like, it's hard to get there financially, but if you're not married, if you don't have kids and you're not married, like, it doesn't, like, there's no such, you're not like actually poverty, you're just broke, right? You're just broke. So you have years of being broke as a writer, but I eventually got there, and just by being that's what I was going to do,
What was the one thing that started to catch traction in the writing world, that started to shift? Like, okay, now I can start supplement money, making a little bit more money. Like, when did that momentum start in writing?
Yeah, there's a meritocracy to it, right? There's absolutely a meritocracy to it, but there's also like a connections thing. I got lucky. There's this writer. He used to be a very prolific writer. There's this writer named Ian Fraser. He wrote this phenomenal book about the American Great Plains called Great Plains, where he just spent years cruising around on the Great Plains. He's really good about culture writing, really good about like writing about landscape and American West and Western history. He had this book, so he wrote this book, Great Plains, and I love this book. It wound up being the weirdest deal where like he had never gone hunting. And he'd written whole books on like the Lakota Sioux and all this Western stuff, but hadn't hunted for some reason. And I got a chance to take him on his first deer hunt. And I took him on a canoe trip for deer. He gets a deer. And meanwhile, we talk a lot about writing, and he takes some of my stuff and takes a piece I wrote and sends it to Outside Magazine. And this is in the very late 90s, 99, the piece published in 2000. And I had written a piece about that we used to go to the bar. When the bar closed, we would go out and sleep inside this dam and then fish whitefish and steelhead inside the dam at daybreak, you know? And I wrote this whole story about doing this. And he gives it to his editor at Outside Magazine, and they bought it for $4,000, which I thought, dude, when I went, there's this, like, I was living in Missoula, Montana. When I got that $4,000, I remember I bought a topper for my truck, which is like $800, and went out to Hot Springs, Montana, and basically just holed up at Hot Springs, Montana, in a like room for a couple of days to try to just process the like the windfall.
Yeah.
The amount of wealth. That you just
the
came
amount
across.
of money.
Yeah. Man, $3,200 after that.
I know. It's like I got a topper. Cash. I got a topper. I'm gonna blow a couple more hundred here at the Hot Springs Hotel. Now, what's my path forward? And yeah, that was it. It was just like it was. I remember that dude telling me in the writing world, and it's changed so much. It's like this is an old ass story, right? This is the year 2000, but him saying, like, he said, like, as a writer, he goes, somehow you just wind up with like a stamp of approval on your head. And he goes, I don't understand it, but all of a sudden you get it and you got it. You get like the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
And so in those days, there's 100 ways to do it, but in those days, there were certain magazines that once you would publish in those magazines, it was like your stamp of approval.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden people would, like, you could sell a book, right? It's just like all of a sudden the whole world opened up to you. All of a sudden, you know, TV people call either about development, you know, maybe they want to license something you wrote or get an option on shit you wrote. I don't know. It's just all of a sudden, like, you struggle. Then all of a sudden, like, some imperceptible thing happens, and all of a sudden just life becomes easy.
Yeah.
And he told me that would happen, you know? And,
yeah.
Or he told me you need to get the stamp of approval. You'll know it when you got it.
Yeah.
It was true, man.
Yeah, Outsider Magazine was a stamp, huh?
Yeah.
That was it. That set you
Outside
off for the next
Magazine.
thing.
And I wound up being on the masthead at Outside. I wrote a lot of articles for Outside. And I wrote all over the place. I did magazine bits everywhere. I wrote tons of magazines, and then started doing books.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then from books got into doing television. Television kind of got into doing podcasts, and then.
Were you excited about television? Because you're talking about, you know, plan A was trapper, plan B was writer, then writer becomes plan A. When TV starts to come into the equation, that's like another opportunity. You know, getting in front of the camera.
No, not in and of itself at all. I felt like it was I felt TV was a way to kind of round everything out with books. Like I thought it would be a way to find audience and find readers, you know, like the primary, like at any point in time, if at any point in time someone came to me and said, hey, you gotta choose, like you can TV host, or you can write. Like at any time, I would never, without a doubt, I'd always go toward writing. Always, yeah. Always. If I ever had to make the decision, but I always just looked at it like part of a thing. You know what I said? I always looked at it as like part of being a writer was doing that kind of stuff. Remember, I said the industry changes so much over time, and being back in. Like when I was starting out, that magazines were a good way to come in. There's 100 ways to come in. I mean, you guys are media. You guys are like media professionals. Like you fucking came out of athletics, right? Like that. I wasn't aware of that path to media. And it's everything changes so much. Like you couldn't do it the way I did it anymore. But what became obvious to me over time that you had to learn. You had to think of like your world as a set of ideas, right? Like it's and this set of ideas lives, and it's this thing, and you can hold this set of ideas, and like imagine that there's all these sort of conveyor belts moving away from you. Do you know what I mean? And you could have this thing in your hand, it's your set of ideas, and you can just randomly place them on these conveyor belts that move away from you. When I started out, it was like there was only one, and it was writing for publication, you know, and so every idea was placed on that thing, on that one belt, right? but now I imagine that it's this array of belts, and it's like it's podcast material, it's television stuff. You know, I've worked a little bit. I've worked on some documentary stuff, right? And it's, instead of thinking that I'm doing all these different things, I'm still dealing with this contained object, which is my ideas, like the things I care about, and where I put them isn't important to me. Right. It's just important to me that it's like, this remains like my fucking thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't really care about all that shit. That's kind of how I've come to think
it's
about it.
It's the necessary evil to get your idea, this contained thing, out to more masses, so they can enjoy and understand it more.
Yeah, exactly. And I went to kind of like, I went to at the time was I got into a pretty like a prestigious writing program in at University of Montana. And at that time, man, there was like, with the internet coming, people were deathly afraid of the internet, man. People were deathly afraid of, like, everybody thought that like, that you were this, that like writing books was the intellectual purity and everything else was less than, you know, and everyone was real, you know, you could get real snobbish about all that stuff, but
You never fell in that trap?
Well, I did, but I fell out of it.
I could see it. I could see it. The internet coming, be like, these individuals don't understand the art of pen to paper.
Exactly.
Well, the curse of writing.
These Philistines. These Philistines.
And the community that you're in, if they're kind of frowning upon it, you have this vulnerability of like seeing it the way you're seeing it, as like, these are just vessels that I'm able to get this idea out. They're not necessarily seeing that, but also you feel the pressure of like, if I do this, you know, the boys are going to be,
they're going
to be having some whispers.
That first time he had an article on the internet, you know, he went back into that little group and they're like, Steve.
Yeah, you see Steve's on the internet.
Sell out. Yeah, you see sold out. Did something on the internet. So stupid.
Is that like in the environments and worlds you live in, is that like a consistent, where I feel like in the hunting world, there's like a lot of like purity about it. Like there's like I don't know if it's a cliquish group, but like people have like their ways they want to do things. And there's a pure way to do something as opposed to, you know, maybe just the regular hunter who goes in a tree stand and just takes the rack or something like that. I feel like you've lived in those types of communities most, if not all, your life.
Dude, it's like, I'm sure everything is. I'm sure every discipline, community, whatever, there's like intense tribalism. There's a tribalism to hunting. It's almost comical. You know what I used to observe is like, so I grew up in a Christian household, in a Christian community. And if you had gone like people would be, I remember people would be, they'd feel threatened by, where I was growing up, people might be feeling threatened by Latter-day Saints, right? Threatened by Mormonism. And because it was like similar, but a little different, right? And you'd look at me like, well, why aren't you guys worried about like devil worshipers? That seems like it would be like a real enemy, you know? But you're like, well, yeah, no one pays attention to that. We're worried about the things that are just a little different, you know? And like the tribalism of hunting is that you, it's that, like there's like archery guys that are, you know, look down on rifle guys. There's guys that hunt over bait. There's guys that don't use bait that look down on guys that hunt over bait. Just whatever hunt, you know.
At some point,
and it winds up being
like just guys that use a knife, or you gotta kill someone with their bare hands. That's
exactly.
You gotta track it down with your bare hands.
What it winds up being, like, the more I've been around the country and like met so many people and got to go to so many places, it winds up being that whatever you grew up around, whatever's normal to you from growing up around, that's right.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And everyone else is like not right.
Yeah,
intense tribalism, dude. Intense tribalism.
I posted a video yesterday on Twitter or X of just like the landscape. Me and Garrett looking over, like it was beautiful, but I had the rifle and someone's like, be a real man and use a bow. Like
Yep.
that was one of the first comments. I was thinking,
Yeah.
I've never even shot a bow. Like, but in my head, I'm like, I guess I'm not real. You know, 'Cause I failed this
fraud.
man's opinion of hunting.
Well, next time you come out, we'll shoot bows. I love shooting bows, but
There's a rumor going around that we're hunting a bear next time.
oh, really?
There is a rumor.
Rumors. I'm glad
Good.
you know. I'm glad you're very aware that we're hunting a bear next time.
Good.
Yeah, there's something about the apex predator that I'm interested in.
Uh-huh.
The thought that if I don't kill it, it'll kill me. I knew this would happen.
You're
Go
not gonna
ahead.
get
Put me
killed
on
by a
game.
black.
Go ahead. Talk down to
No,
me.
you're
I
not
need
gonna get
it.
killed by a black bear.
Fair.
Yeah.
But I could be.
Yeah, you could be.
Right? Maybe a couple cubs walk by. Maybe
Grizzly
I'm-
bear could kill you.
Yeah, no doubt. But a black bear's not going to kill me.
Man, black bears don't like. Here's the thing: they do. So I think that you have black. I think there's like black bear hunting seasons in close to 30 states now.
Mhm.
Okay. Most, like by far, most Americans live within like a 45-minute drive of a black bear. Okay. Or black bears everywhere. You have, you take a state like here, it's like we might have 10,000 black bears in this state. No one gets killed by a black bear. Okay. 10,000 black bears. And I can't think of the last time someone in this state's been killed by a black bear.
Yeah, they can still get their numbers.
Meanwhile, you get 1,000 grizzly bears and they're killing a couple people a year. It's just a different bear, man. They're like a different bear with a different groove. And they just got a different worldview. And like, even then the odds are small, but there's like an elite group of players out there that are like very high risk individuals on getting mix-ups with grizzly bears. And it's a real thing. Like I've had like close calls with them, little skirmishes. It's a different bear.
Have you ever had, when you were having your mix-ups with the grizzlies, like was there some fear starting to set in?
Oh yeah, they're intimidating, man. They're intimidating. It's a real bear. I mean, I love them to death. But yeah, it's like, you know, those bears play for keeps, man. Like in this state, you know, every year people get tore up by one or two people in the lower 48 get killed by them, and there's not that many. You got grizzly bears in 3 states. Well, now and then you'll have one in northern Washington, but you got a small number of bears that do a lot of mixing it up with people, and they just have a different attitude, you know. Like a black bear, when you scare a black bear or intimidate a black bear, the black bear in his mind is like he's going to get clear.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get clear of the thing. A grizzly, like usually as well, his impulse is going to be to get clear of it. But 10% of the time, whatever, some percentage of the time, it's not 50, it's less than 50, is when he gets scared, his impulse is to just like crush what scared him. God. And black bears don't have it. And it's like, it's getting like 9 times out of 10, whatever it is, like 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, he's going to peace out. But then you get like the right mix up, the right proximity, he's in the right mood, whatever, and you like scare him. You know what the difference is? Picture you go around to your buddies and you hide around a corner in a house, right? And your buddy comes in the door. Like you hide in your buddy's house and your buddy comes in the door and you go like, "Bah!" to scare him.
Yeah.
What percentage of buddies are going to jump back and go, "Ah!" But there's going to be that one that just boom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
That is a good analogy.
Like, I don't know who, you know, like there's going to be that one that just
decides to smoke
that
it.
has the that has the sort of the response
impulse,
time.
Yeah. I fear. I know. I'm the jump back guy.
Yeah, I'm a jump back guy too.
Hey, you got me.
Yeah, I'm like
You
an
got me.
assess. I'm gonna jump back. I'm gonna assess.
You're an assessor.
Yeah.
I could see you being
probably.
a striker. Maybe I just hold you in high regard because of our two interactions.
I don't think. No, try it. No, don't try it because that sounds scary.
Sounds like if I broke into your house, that'd be a world of hurt.
If I had a minute to assess, then I would then take
Yeah,
steps.
just a 6'7" shadow in the corner of your house. I'll be done. What about polar bear? I know I don't want to take this and turn us into a bear thing, but like
no, they're bad.
Something about
they
like
kill a lot.
Cougars and bears and all that. Because I'm like I said, Arizona. Like we got javelina and Gila monsters and snakes,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no like giant predators. And so I walk out in the woods around here. I
You got
remember-
black bears and mountain lions.
Well, those are up north if they're anywhere. They're not going to be down in Cave Creek area, like the desert.
and you're overlooking one because usually there's usually a jaguar in Arizona.
A singular jaguar?
Dude, I'm telling you. No.
I'll take my odds with the singular. Like I went to the University of Michigan, and the first time I get there, I see all these trees, and I just think there's a bear in every bunch of those trees. Like that's how dumb I am. And so then I come out here, I'm like, we're for sure in bear country now. We got to be. So and then my wife is from British Columbia, and they're always talking about bears.
Oh, she knows bears.
She knows bears. They're aware. The whole like if it's a black bear, get big. If it's a brown bear, like lay down. And then if it's a white bear, it's like you might as well just. It's over. It's over for you. But
excuse me.
Yeah, but polar bears. Is that just you see one of those things? It's game over.
Man, I have. First off, I'm very comfortable talking about black bears and grizzly bears.
Yeah.
I have zero polar bear experience. I can tell you though that numerically they are a high level of aggression. But I'm way over my weight or talking about polar bears.
You're in the mud where Will's standing.
I'm not a polar bear man.
Polar bears would be, I mean, those things are massive.
Massive. Terrifying.
Individuals.
We can get off the bear stuff. Will, what do you got?
You can talk about bears all you want. I just can't talk about polar bears with any level of authority.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was going to ask, you've obviously built an incredible company with MeatEater. You have MeatEater, you have First Light. Like every time we come out here, I feel like we learn something new. Like 150 employees. Like, how did you build this company into what it is today? Because it came through writing. You get on television. There has to be a shift in your mind mentally to where it's like, hey, I could have the ability to build something of my own. Because I think that's incredible. It is incredible what you've built with me.
Yeah, it's such a convoluted, complicated story, and it's hardly at all. It's just not like it's not the doings of a single person at all. But I had eventually. Do you guys remember? Well, of course you do. All the Anthony Bourdain shows over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happened was. The production company that made all that Bourdain stuff, it was 0.0 production. Chris and Lydia Tenaglia had 0.0 production, and they did like Cook's Tour, which was Bourdain's first show. They did No Reservations. They did Parts Unknown, and they produced all that material. I'm only bringing that up because it's a way to kind of understand the group of people I'm talking about. I fell in with ZPZ on some like development projects to like develop some of the work, to some of my writing into TV material. And we started making MeatEater, the show. Like it was like MeatEater was a TV show that I was making with 0.0 production. I named it that because I just had a new kid. My first kid was born, and I would read him books about animals. Like I mainly would just read him books about animals and be reading like books about dinosaurs and shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be like this ferocious meat eater, the T-Rex. So I just had that word in my head, and we started this show, and it was like no intention of being anything other than a show. And we'd make the show, and we didn't sell it. We just licensed it. So we licensed it to Sportsman Channel. We licensed it to Netflix for a bunch of seasons, and we just owned it. If someone had bought it, we would have sold it to them. Okay. So it was like lucky that if the right deal would have come along, we would have just sold it because that's how TV's always made.
Mm-hmm.
Like when a network, a stream or whatever, when they buy a project, it's usually they take possession of the IP. You produce it for them, but they own it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just got lucky. We got lucky and didn't originally sell it to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
We only ever made licensing deals. And it was almost like accidental, right? But what that enabled is it wound up being that we wound up owning a seed to this whole sort of universe of hunting and fishing content and whatnot. Over time, we got an opportunity to take an investment that would let us spin that were approached about taking an investment that would let us spin MeatEater outside of the 0.0 cradle to spin it out and like hire our own people. A lot of the guys that worked on the show that I did all lived here in Bussin, Montana. It was just like it was a very small group of people, and just almost like weirdly coincidentally, we're all centered around here. I had lived here before. They were living here. So when we found a way to like spin MeatEater off and make MeatEater its own entity, we just like moved it here. And then we're able to take investment to buy gear companies. And we had a sponsor, like First Light was a sponsor of ours going way back. Like the founders were one of our first sponsors. We eventually got to a point where we were able to buy First Light. And then other gear companies, FHF gear, Phelps game calls, Dave Smith decoys. We were able to grow into this commerce brand. But I'm like aware of and know what's going on and, you know, in all aspects of it. But my day in, day out is like our media brand, right? So we look at it, we kind of look at our world as being, we have our commerce business and our content business. And I work day in, day out. I'm like in the content business, but so it was just, but it's like, it's not like a thing I did. I didn't have like a roadmap in my head for it. I don't feel, if you think about like your professional life, maybe you guys have found it differently. I've never had it be that I've never been in a situation where I felt like I arrived at a T in a road. Do you know what I mean? Like a clean T where you have to decide like you're going to turn 90 degrees right or you're going to turn 90 degrees left. I've never hit that professionally. Every junction I've ever come to has been like an angle that's the obvious angle, or there's maybe like some little shitty dirt road you could take off to the side. And I've always just like been like, well, I'm gonna stay on the one that seems the most like beaten down.
Yeah.
Like I've never had like some moment to be like, oh, do I do this or do this? Because they're equally tantalizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been like, well, no, man, right now for me, the clear option is to go that way.
Right.
And I've just always gone like the clear option is to go that way. And I just go that way. I've never had like a do or die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't think of ever having a do or die like thing that happened to me.
Right.
Change the trajectory of where you're actually going. It seems like it's all just been one thing to the next thing that's opened up the next door.
Yeah, it's never some movie shit, you know, or like someone's like, take it now, or you
this
know,
is your last opportunity. You're in a hotel room with a suitcase and a guy.
Yeah, never happened.
Yeah.
Was it weird getting into the content world? Like showing hunts, like, you know, some like when we go on these hunts and they're prepping us about Steve Rinella.
Yep.
And hey, we got to have things in order. Camera guys got to be right because you're somebody who likes to go and do your thing. You're not necessarily thinking content first. You're thinking hunting first, and the content better adapt around it.
Yeah.
So was it weird when you're starting to implement cameras into your day-to-day on the things that you love to do and you're wanting to show people?
Very weird.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And then you're showing it to the world. You're putting it on socials. You're putting it on YouTube.
Yeah, it was very weird. And there was a couple times early on in trying to film stuff I like to do. There's a couple times early on I was like, man, I just don't know if I want to do this, you know. But I fell in love with it. And one of the things that made our material stand out in a somewhat crowded space is what made our material stand out is remember I was talking about that shit with like working with ZPZ. So like picture that Bourdain show for so long was like of such heavy influence, you know, like cultural influence. Like it was emulated. And it was like the cool kids worked on that show. It was like the cool show. Well, those dudes, so there's like dudes that worked on that show. Nick Brigden, Jared Andrukanis, this guy Mo Fallon, Josh Farrell, a bunch of dudes that worked on that show that would come. When they weren't doing that, they would come out and do hunts. And these are guys they'd come out and film hunts. Mm-hmm. And these are guys that could give a shit about hunting. But what they were interested in is just like story, right? They're interested in like telling a good story, making things like telling a beautiful story. And they're like, what turned them on to it was they're like, every quest is so sort of encapsulated and perfect. Like if you imagine there's a definition of a story, you'd be like, it seems weird to define what a story is, but like a working definition of a story would be that there's a person or a thing wants something. There are obstacles preventing them from getting it. A story is them working through those obstacles to get it, right? So you go back to the Iliad, the Odyssey, whatever, like it's that's the story. Someone or something wants something and they have to overcome obstacles to try to achieve it. And they're like, dude, it's kind of perfect because all the shit and all the thought you put into it, like what's happening, it's all just right there. Like you want to go somewhere and get something, and then there's all these obstacles, but they just like happen naturally anyways.
Yeah.
And then you either do or don't. But it's like like all you gotta do is like turn someone loose in the woods.
Yeah.
It's like it's there already. Yeah. So they were kind of fascinated by it, just in this weird way of like you could make these really clean, really entertaining 30-minute episode is actually 22 minutes. You can make these clean, entertaining little stories by just going into the woods and being like, what are we after?
Yeah.
Well, see way up on that mountain, that thing up there. Yeah. We're gonna try to figure out how to get it.
There. Yeah.
And they're like, and it was just fun for them, and they were able to bring their like all their talents of cinematography and other stuff to this thing that they just thought was fun. And a lot of those guys later on did a little bit of hunting and and liked it, but they were first and foremost, they were professionals. And normally what'll happen, and man, I am not disparaging this shit. Like I do not want to seem like I hesitated to bring it up, but like a lot of people that would come up and do hunting material would wind up being that like your crew was guys that like to hunt, and there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for it. But in those early days of doing it, the crew was like people who were like film professionals. So it was just different. It was different, and I can't take the credit for it, right?
Right.
Because they brought like a lot, and so we came out with this show, and it was just different. And part of why it was different is it was like I'm in the world hardcore, but there's a lot of people involved in it just didn't care. Do you remember all the tribalism and all that? Lost on them.
Right.
If you said, "Hey man, we're gonna go hunt this kind of weird squirrel," they'd be like, "Great." They didn't know enough to know that was dumb.
Cool, man. What's the story in taking down the squirrel?
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like you got a crew now that, Max himself says, Will was saying he pointed out the coyote from 400 feet, like 400 yards away. Like you got a crew that like, it seems like everyone just lives and breathes.
Oh, buddy.
Now we got best of both worlds because now we got these guys that are like media professionals. But a long time has gone by, but now there's these like media professionals who are also very passionate. And like, here's the thing, you take a dude like Max, really, if you kind of looked at it, you'd almost maybe think that like, if someone came down, like an objective person came down and sort of looked at the meritocracy of it all, they might be like, dude, I think that Max should be the guy on camera. And dude, Steve should be, and
Max crushes
this old dude. Steve should be like the whatever, like the fucking
sidekick,
the CFO guy or some shit. I don't
like
know.
The mentor.
And it should be that this Max dude is like hosting the trips because like he's got all this. He's like
your guy's
like an unbelievable hunter.
Like walking around with them, it's. Max spots the coyote 400 yards away. Once Max points it out, Steve knows exactly where it is. And I'm thinking, what in the fuck are these guys looking at? Hey, Steve, where we're at on the mountain, it's right under there, under that little lip of the cliff. And I'm trying to spot it. And then next thing you know, Steve's on the gun. But even walking, these guys and birds, he'll be in the middle of a story that he's been telling this entire podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what happens, but he stops like the way you talk about Garrett, where he just kind of stops and looks around.
Yeah.
But Steve will be in the middle of a story and he'll just stop and he'll be like, Max, you heard that? I'd be like, yeah, that seems like one of those blueberry pheasants that came down, that migrated down from the northeast. He's
Sounds
like, yeah,
about 4 years old.
Yes, it sounds about 4 years old. Like it sounds like he brought his family down here.
Must be on vacation.
And it'll
They're
be in
off
the
route
middle
right
of
now.
a story, and he'll just hear this noise.
Dude,
They'll talk about some crane, and Max like it stands like 4 feet tall from South Africa.
We're talking about a sandhill crane.
Yeah,
and
sandhill
thought
crane.
it was
Dude, we
a
were-
Soviet.
We'll be
crane.
walking on the hill, and we'll be walking on the hill, and Steve will just stop. And he'll sprint to this other hill and find this little bottom jaw of a lizard bone. And be like, hey, check this out. I'm like, how the f- did you see that?
Like, what? How do your eyes operate that way?
Yeah.
Dude, it's something as simple as we're like driving back in the Can-Am from the night hunt last night.
Yeah.
And Garrett's in the middle of talking about horses. And a bird goes by. He's like, yeah, so we were roping pheasant. And he just like, he just kept going, like, he has to let me know that he saw this bird. And
every particular
identify
species
it
of
for me,
bird.
just so you know that blur that just went across your face is a pheasant. You'll never be able to see it again. But that's as long as you know now. It's insane.
There is a thing that's like imagine you could look at it and you'd be like, it's like well, I was gonna say, I imagine someone could want to look down on it and say it's a sort of like some kind of like a colonial tendency or whatever. I don't know, but there is a thing with outdoorsmen to be like that. Cataloging the landscape is. I've never called it that before, but just hearing you guys talk about it, there is a thing of like the need to like list it all.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you know,
you're
it's
like,
like,
you're
you know,
When there's a
doing- you're
bird,
doing
you have to
inventory.
go like it can't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Any
anywhere we're
noise too, like you
standing.
guys are legit like wild animals. Like a noise goes by, you're like, yeah, that's a
Well,
crane.
you can
Yeah,
be
I don't know
standing
why, I
on
feel
any
like-
part of land. And Steve, yesterday, we're just standing by the river. He's like, oh, look, the beavers, this is where they kind of, this is kind of where it's like they're Johnny on the spot. Look, they were rolling around over here. That's beautiful. And you're just standing there. It's like,
I'm
yeah,
just walking
there's some
by- I'm walking
grass
by
in
and
here.
Steve goes, you see this this horseshoe in this little river? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, see how it's kind of like sloped here? Well, the beavers and the otters, they just think, I'm not going to take that trail. I'm just going to go and slide over through here. And I'm just like standing in the middle of like their highway or whatever.
When I'm
it
in the
is.
mud and he's talking about the methanol,
methane,
the
yeah.
gas.
And you're like slowly sinking to your death. And he's like, you know what's something crazy? Guys went ice fishing back there.
Blew the tent up.
Blew the tent up. And it's like this wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
Wealth of
they
knowledge.
know
Never been hit in
everything.
the head that many times.
Yeah.
Do you when you go out with these guys, like obviously Will and I, we sit there and we obviously bend the knee. Like we listen to you. We know we don't know. So that makes it more fun for us to learn and like hear your stories. Do you ever have guests that come in and be like, the greatest hunter? I'm maybe the greatest gift to hunting anyone's ever seen. And you have to kind of deal with
You're
those
telling a
egos?
good story, and they're kind of like,
you know
yeah,
what?
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's like,
you know
I
what? I
know.
had something like that, and he tells a story that has nothing to do with anything he's saying.
I have definitely encountered blowhards, but no, not like no. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, and I try not to. I just try not to even create environments where that's.
Mhm.
You know, like I just like the dick swinging and all that. Like
Yeah.
I like. I'm sure you could probably build. You could probably build a world where it was just full of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just am so. I dislike it. I dislike it.
Are there any content creators in the outdoors world out there that are just kind of full of shit?
Dude, I'm
Like
not
I'll be
even-
out
are you
around some
crazy.
I'll be out around some.
Steve, we want you to do on Bussin' with the Boys is start a war
Yeah,
with another outdoor.
Where's
group
the
right
outdoor
now.
beef?
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta
be around some
Talk to me
buddies.
about that beef.
You got to be. Yeah, no, you'd have to be. There's no way. There's no way I would ever take that question on.
But say you don't take the question
Hey,
on,
that was-
are there thoughts of like, yeah, there's some people that are full.
You
Like
know
I'll
what
be
the
around
saying
some
is.
outdoor buddies and they'll bring up some brand or some personality. And they're like, they curate it this way, but I've hunted with this guy and it's all manufactured.
Well, here I'll tell you this: it won't be as satisfying to you to hear it. There are people I know that are like exceptionally talented hunters, and I'll know that I'll know their bio. I'll know that they're exceptionally talented and like extremely dedicated. And then I'll hear rumors. Oh yeah, he ain't shit. He did this, he did that. And I'm like, dude, it's not true, man. It's not true. Like there's such an appetite to see people be diminished and such an appetite to see people be put in their place
Mm-hmm.
that that people want those stories. They ask for those stories. They're hoping for those stories.
Yeah.
They're hoping to hear a story about how terrible someone is. So in the same way that if I'm talking to a friend of mine.
That was JP's question.
Listen, man, you know, like,
who do you hate?
Well, no, hear me out on this, because like there's different ways of looking at shit. Like if I'm hearing all about, let's say I'm talking to my wife and I'm hearing all about someone, how terrible some friend's husband is. Or maybe I'm hearing all about how terrible some friend's wife is. I'm always sitting there thinking to myself, well, I'd have to hear their story too. Right? It infuriates people around me, where when I hear a story, a lot of times I'm like, I have like a somewhat contrarian thing where I'm like, well, I'd have to hear more from them. You know, sounds bad, but I don't know. Haven't heard the full story. So you hear so much shit talking. It's got to be way worse it's got to be way worse in your guys' world of like professional.
It's bad.
Like,
yeah, it's bad.
Like in athletics, it's got to be like 1,000 times worse. But yeah, there's this thing where everybody wants everybody to be ain't shit. They ain't all that. They don't. They're a poser. Whatever. You know what I mean? And when I hear it, I'm always like, man, knowing how bad people want negative to be true, and that they're rooting for negatives to be true, I just tend to just dismiss it.
Sounds like a much more peaceful lifestyle than what Will and I grew up in. Because the locker room can be a nasty place.
Yeah, but it's such a performance-based
how much room
world
is it? Because
you want to be seen as better.
Yeah.
Like even if you want to be looked at as better than you might actually be, a lot of times guys will lean to, well, he's not very good, I'm better, or especially in like position groups.
Or if somebody gets coached a little differently, coaches harder on somebody else, or you see, if I'm thinking of my experiences, you might feel like, I might feel like I'm doing something correctly. I'm getting coached on something very small, and somebody that could be above me on the depth chart per se, they could be doing something that the technique that's going on is not even being taught, but the coach kind of goes over it because he's the guy, you know what I mean? And so you feel like this bitterness that could build in your mind. Because it's all so performance based, and your success and you attaining this, the roster spot or whatever it is like predicated on your performance. So I feel like you're very more high alert or highly aware of all of these stories that are going on around you to make it seem like you're doing the correct thing, and this guy, he's not that good. Like your pass set's different than this guy, but the headlines are really hyping this guy up, and you're like, I mean, he's not really
right. He doesn't have it.
Yeah, he doesn't have it. I feel like it is a lot more of a conversation
in the sports world. We can only speak for football, but ego is it's
insanely high.
It's insane. It's out of control.
Do you feel that in that world? Do you feel that there's a way that talent isn't captured by stats? Like, it seems to me like, how could there be anything to argue about? Because all reality is laid out. Like, all reality is on the table.
Yes. I think you can. There's stats only tell part of the story. Yeah. And it's easy to see with like receivers or quarterbacks and all that. But like, take Will for instance. Will was a middle linebacker. If he had 2 D tackles that are shitty in front of him, it's going to make him look worse. And the D tackles might have better stats because they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but they're getting through the line of scrimmage a little bit faster, but they're leaving big gaping holes where Will has to now have a bigger area to cover to make a tackle. He's going to look worse. But if you have 2 guys that are doing their job in that instance and maybe not making the tackle, but putting everybody else in a position to make the tackle, their value now goes up a lot more.
Oh, I see.
Offensive line.
So there is room to just be mad and argue.
There's more room than not.
It's always,
Because you talk to like offensive linemen, our stats are only negative. How many penalties you get, how many sacks you give up, those types of things. But there is a way like helping your neighbor. Like we, like as 5 guys on an offensive line, like we're only as good as a cohesive unit. So if I'm playing great, but my left guard's playing bad or vice versa, like it's kind of on both of us. Because there's so many times in a game that I can help my buddy out with, putting my hand in a guy's shoulder at a certain spot. So it turns his shoulder more. So it makes that reach block easier for my guard. Or he helps me out on a backside cutoff. There's so many, it's like, that's why it's the greatest team sport ever. Is like no one can just do it by themselves. It's not like basketball. You can just have like a superstar that puts like 40 up a game.
Yep.
Everyone's got to kind of function and have this well-oiled machine working as one unit. Otherwise it all falls apart. But with that comes guys getting more stats than others and dudes
Right.
getting paid more. And
There-
then ego. Well, I should have got this because Will had 100 tackles this year, but I was eating up 2 blocks at a time. I should be getting paid more. And then ego fights. And that's why culturally you need great leadership, not only in the locker room, but also from a coaching standpoint as well. So there's a lot of different nuances in the football world that are just
there's a
what you
lot
see.
underneath the surface.
A lot underneath, yeah.
Gaps can get filled in, and not as like comparable to like basketball, where I feel like the realities and the stats are laid out a little bit easier for like the objective eye.
Yeah, but going off of like not hating on people, but was there ever like guests that came on and you're like, I don't know if this guy's gonna know, like, and was like a pleasant surprise of their knowledge and understanding of the outdoors that kind of stood out to you?
There's been a lot of people that have stood out to me, but I can't think of people that where I want to be surprised.
And you can't say us.
Yeah. I feel like you were surprised with our shooting abilities last time.
That was surprising. Well,
Yeah.
I
that
was
also
surprised
hurt a
till
little
I
bit
thought about
at
it,
that
but then I
point.
thought about it. But you guys obviously you have to have like a very developed sense of situational awareness, extremely good hand-eye coordination, right? And just like a little zip in your head.
Who's that?
God, don't do that.
That was not me. You know, I'm claiming.
Well, what happened?
Somebody farted. And Will is...
You rip one back there? There we go. We got a hand out.
There you go.
Yeah.
I would have bet $1 million that was Will.
I know.
Yeah.
Like a zip in your head.
Yeah.
Like a fast kind of like thinking thing. So then it was like, then it made sense to me that you would excel at it, you know, because you have and then also there's a competitive drive. So it made sense to me, but I was surprised, because I've seen people really struggle with, trying to pick up a shotgun and hit a moving target with a shotgun. But then when you factor in that your whole life has been, or big portions of your life are focused around a moving ball and following it and figuring out what to do and making quick decisions. So it would make sense.
Right.
You'd wind up being good.
Somehow we spin that to us. That was nice. Yeah.
I was telling Will about something the other day. It's like we went out coyote calling, okay, and we'll go coyote calling. It's kind of a midwinter thing here. Like after big game hunting seasons are all done, just a fun thing to do to keep active at a time of year when there's not a lot going on. So we'll go coyote calling. But I was telling him that I got a friend, this guy named Mercer Lawing, right, who's a professional predator guy. Like he does government work as a caller for predation work. He catches bobcats for researchers to put radio collars on. Like his whole life, he's a fur trapper. So catches bobcats for the fur market. I'm like bouncing all over the place. Catches bobcats for the fur market. Does predator work for biologists, where if you have like imperiled species and you're trying to help sustain like a small population of animals and try to get them built back up again. And so you're trying to reduce predation on that little population of animals. He's a guy that will come in and do predator control, very targeted predator control in a place, and catches stuff for researchers who want to put collars on it, radio tracking collars on them. It's all this guy. I mean, like his whole life. So here's a guy that he'll go predator calling for months on end, every day, months on end. You get to like, you guys will make some jokes about like, oh, you guys know this, and me and Max or me and Garrett will like see this and see this and see this. You go hang out with like a dude like that who has been hyper focused on one small little component of this, and then you get into like some holy shit.
Yeah, he's like Snow White talking to the animals.
Dude, you get into a highly focused man. And then I had a couple experiences of being able to go down to South America and hang out with like indigenous South Americans. And so here people live in a community in the jungle. Your people have always been there. They spend their whole lives maybe within let's say you spend your whole life within about a 75-mile radius, but so did your great grandpa, your grandpa, your dad, you guys hunt and fish 250 days a year. You want to talk about hearing some bird off in the distance?
Yeah.
They know what it is. They know what tree it's sitting on. They know what that bird's mom was. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't. There's a level. There's a level of depth to this shit that certain people can get, and like I get to live in it, but I live in this whole other thing of like producing media. And there's like a business component. There's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of guys out there that just do a very stripped down version of just all in on fucking all nature all the time, man. And that's like hanging out with, when you talk about being surprised by people, the surprise winds up being how deep you can go and how good you can get on like wildlife and just immersing yourself into that natural world, man. And I get to touch it, I get to like tickle it, you know?
Yeah.
But there's some dudes that live it.
Yeah.
Right. And I always try to be clear, like, you know, I never run around talking about knowing more than whoever, because I've met the guys that know it all, and I can't compare myself to them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're just too deep. They're too deep.
Yeah,
You'll
there's
never
like
catch them.
So many like side categories. Like there's obviously like hunting, right? Is just one thing, and then there's all these different things that people can specialize in.
Mm-hmm.
Finding these guys that just like sit out there, and the generations of all that is just, it's just nuts to me. There's like, you can never learn too much.
Yeah.
There's never an end date. Like you've officially reached the pinnacle of the outdoors.
There's this thing I found bouncing around the country that like an observation I've had is, it doesn't matter anywhere you go in the country. You could have two houses next to each other. Okay. Anywhere you go in the country, and there's two outdoorsmen, they live next to each other. You could find the one guy in the house on the right who's like, everything's all fucked up. It used to be good, but all the spots are gone. Now the woods is full of idiots. Everybody's out there. The fishing sucks now. The fishing game agency fucked everything up. Right?
Right.
And then the left house right next to him always is a dude's like, fuck, you can't even scratch the surface.
Yeah.
It's too good.
Yeah,
There's
perception.
too much to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like everywhere you go, those two dudes, everywhere you go, there's those two dudes. You know, and I just like the guy in the left house better, man.
That's ready to find the new pivot, find the new way to figure out.
Yep. And they're just excited, man.
Break through another ceiling.
Can't scratch the surface.
Yeah.
Too much to do.
Yeah.
It's like there's always those dudes, and I'm always like, I'd rather talk to that the left house guy that can't scratch the surface.
Yeah.
And it's like there's that like infectiousness about it, you know, about getting out.
Yeah.
You got some? Sorry.
I was gonna ask, you speak to so many people that are both hunters and even non-hunters, because you have this knowledge with history, and again, you're able to weave all these things in that kind of bring it relatable to everybody. So I want to put you in a situation where you're speaking to, so let's just say, guys like Taylor and myself, people that are kind of like, you know, they flirt with hunting, they have kids, you know, we're both girl dads. You're very adamant about getting your kids out the whole arena of consequences. And let's just say you're speaking to potential hunters, or you're speaking to hunters that just kind of dip in and they're wanting to learn about your philosophy of getting kids involved and getting in the outdoors more. Like, what would be kind of your general approach when speaking to a group like that? Because again, I think you do it's really cool to hear you talk about hunting in a way to where you know that you are immersed in it in such a way that is very intimidating and you feel like you can't belong, but you're also able to sit next to guys like us to where it makes it seem so fun, and that where you want to dive into it more.
I developed a couple philosophies about with families and getting kids outside. Is like, remember I was talking about in picking a career, it'd be that you got to either get where, if you're trying to do a thing that's hard, you got to get where you're just going to do it or die.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I would, when having little kids, it's so hard to get out. It's like you go and you're like, oh, there's like the snack shit, and this one still wears diapers. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and
There's a
this one
bag,
like
yeah.
takes some weird ass nap in the middle of the day every day. Do you know what I mean? And like at a point, you just be like, well, just never mind, man. I'm not gonna do shit, and I'm just gonna become like a bitter dad who's like pissed at his kids because I can't go. You know, I'd be like, I'm just gonna do that route and kind of resent my kids and kind of be shitty to my wife and just generally be pissed because now I can't live out my passions, and I'm just like an old has-been.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the amount of dudes that fall into that, you know, a lot. And I just didn't want to do that. And so I just had it. I would set a goal, even when they're little, like, you know, with all that shit, like diapers and all that garbage. I would set like a goal, like we're going to go today and we're going to like, I don't give a shit what happens. There's no way it's not going to happen. We're going to go fish, you know, and maybe we're going to fish something that's not that exciting. We're going to go catch some bluegills, whatever. But like, I don't give a shit, dude. If we don't fish, I'm going to kill myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I had to like go at it like that with little ones. And I'll tell you, here's the thing that I found, like, well, there's two parts, because this is the area that me and my wife agree on, is we're not terribly interested with little kids. We're not like real interested in what they think.
Mm.
I don't really want to hear about, like, I'm not that interested in what they want to eat. Right. It's like, you're going to eat what we're having. And I'm not that interested in on Saturday, we're going fishing. I don't want to go fishing. I was going to go to Bobby's house. It's like, no, you're not going to Bobby's. We're going doing that. Like, you live in our house and we'll lean your way a lot, but in a lot of ways, you're going to lean our way. And you're going to do the things we're going to do, because I think that one of the most important things you can demonstrate to your kids is like demonstrate to them what it's like to be passionate about something. You know, like, if all you ever can bring to the table for your kids is just like this kind of like ambivalence, passivity, well, I guess we'll go down to the park because what else are you supposed to do with a kid? Later on, like, what is their impression about how you, later on when they're grown up and they're thinking about it, like, what is their impression about how you engage with the world? You know, even if my kids, and they probably won't, I don't know. I remember someone saying, like, what if your kids don't like to hunt and fish as much as you do? I'm like, not many people do, man. Whatever that happens to them, if they don't go at all, they will, when I'm dead and they're sitting around with their spouses and they're like goofing on their dad or remembering their dad, they're going to remember someone who was fucking on it. Do you know what I mean? Who was like driving hard. And they maybe won't like it, but they'll laugh about it, and they'll probably begrudgingly, they'll be like, yeah, I learned some shit from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it'll be that, like, what you're going to do, like, be fucking tenacious. And so it's not, to me, like, getting them into the outdoors it's like selfish, because that's what I want to do. But it's also like, well, I'm showing them what it's like to care about something, what it's like to try to excel at it, what it's like to try to like be in it, what it's like to try to do hard little goals, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just to make them be outdoors people. It's just to have them see that, like, that you can, that it's good to go through life fired up, you know, to be like, this is fucking, we're going, man. You know, it's windy, it's fucking cold. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that, because I think in a way, like, whether or not they picked it up, they're about it later in life or when you're still around. But the moment that they start to have families themselves and think about it, or if you know, unfortunately weren't around anymore, and you're able to recall things, like ultimately they will be bringing that into their world because they're going to actually start to remember. It's like all the things we resent about, or we would get upset about with our parents. And then you look back on things that they did and it's like, well, this is why they did this. And then it starts to come out through you now that we have families.
Yep.
So I love that.
Interesting how parents will be like, you don't like this now, but you're going to appreciate it later. They say it to you when you're a kid, and then you actually sit back and you're like, yo, I really do appreciate it. Because it's very difficult. I have a 7 and a 4-year-old, and I want so badly to be a place where they can come and talk to me about things, where they can just say, hey, how are you emotionally feeling? How do we work through it? What's the process of communication so that you don't just lose a gasket every single time you're mad about something? Like, how do you process it in your mind and have an ability to talk about it? But then it's like, I worry because I was successful and my kids live a much better life than I did growing up. And it's like, hey, how do I stop? How do I, one, make sure they have a work ethic and then a passion in whatever they're doing? And I think the answer you gave is the correct one, which is show them every day. Like, the reason why your dad is successful is because of X, Y, and Z. The reason why he has a hard work ethic is because he's passionate about the things he's working towards.
Yep.
And you just show them that over and over again. Eventually they'll sit there and be like, okay, I want to succeed in these things. Well, how would I do that? Well, my dad's successful. He did X, Y, and Z, and they can always lean back on that.
Yep.
So it's a difficult thing because I've been around. I went to high school my senior year. I transferred down to Scottsdale, Arizona. It's a very rich area of Arizona, and all these kids are driving, the nicest cars and live in the nicest houses. And you see them like 10, 15 years later, and none of these kids have drive because they've been given everything their entire lives. So it's just like, I sit back as a father of 2 young kids and I'm like, how do I make sure that does not happen?
I get worried about
That's the fear.
That my kids have it too gravy.
You've established something incredible. Like, you've trailblazed an area that, for a lot of times only like a niche group knew about, and you're making it a mainstream thing. And so, yeah, you might run into that. It sounds, actually, you're not going to run into that. I heard the way you talk about your kids. Like, your kids are going to be just fine. It's from a toughness
I think
standpoint.
either way, though, like,
There's
you talk
always
about
a fear,
talk about the definition of storytelling. Like, somebody wants something, there's going to be obstacles. Some might have many more obstacles. But if they have moments to where we're wanting to show our kids something, and maybe they're in college and we feel like they just haven't gotten it, and we've done everything that we can. If they're going to overcome whatever that final obstacle is, they would have to look at themselves so closely to where you almost do appreciate. You're like, you know what? Dad was right. I'm never going to tell him. But if I want to get this thing, I have to come over this obstacle that ultimately I'm just standing in front of my own way.
Right.
So no matter how it comes out, whether it's early in life or later in life, I do think it comes out at some point, no matter what. And sometimes it's, when mom and dad might pass and then you're reflecting, you're in a different state of mind. Sometimes it's when parents are alive. Sometimes you're getting out of college and everything structurally has happened the right way to where they kind of have that drive and passion. But no matter what, I think it'll trickle out at some point along the road.
And it's like also like seeing the adversities they're going through, knowing in your head, like, this is not a big deal. And you know that. But it's like, what do I essentially step back and say, you work through this, like you have the tools to do it. And then at what point do I go, okay, I need to intervene here because I want to make sure that I can see the path they're going. And if they go that way, it's just, they're either going to get in trouble or, not handle it the correct way. So it's it's a finesse game with kids, man. Yeah. And I don't necessarily love the word finesse, but it really is. Like, you've got to pick and choose
terribly
your
finesse.
poison.
It's finessey. Is that a word?
Finessey.
You know what sounds melodramatic, but like I think about it, I guess because I think about it, I'll just share it, even though it sounds melodramatic and kind of simplistic. Like, I always picture, let's say your kid gets older and there's like a fucking car crash. Right. And there's like a car rolls over and it's on fire and there's like a person that needs to be pulled free of the car. Right. But the car could fucking blow up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you always be like, would my kid be the one that runs over and drags them clear?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, it sounds so melodramatic and like fantastical, but I'm always like, when I think about little things and bringing them up, it's like, how do you kind of from the ground up make the one that be like, fuck, I don't want to do it, but I'll do it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I'll go drag them clear there.
No doubt.
Have the selfless act of like, hey, this is something
this could be the end of me, but you don't even think about it.
And it's like a lot of things. It's like, how do you view other humans? Like, what are your obligations to people? What's your obligation to your family? Like, are you act first? Do you have it in you to act?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, are you willing to like do shit you don't want to do? Or, you know, are you willing to like court a little danger and have a little risk, right? And so I kind of look at like, would this make it more likely that they would go and drag someone clear of a burning?
I love that.
The most extreme version.
I know we got to wrap up soon,
man.
but I have a question that's brought to us by Bud Light. People do. Are you talking about this one?
Well, how long we got? Like 10 minutes?
Yeah, people do anything for a Bud Light.
Okay.
What's something that you would do anything for? Is there some big game out there that you haven't yet conquered? What is something that you would do anything for?
Man. I'll tell you. There's a documentary thing there's a documentary I want to make. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. There's a documentary that I want to make, and it makes no sense. And but if I don't, there's a subject I want to take on in a documentary, and if I don't get to take it on in my life in a documentary form, my life will have been a failure.
Holy shit!
And you can't give concept. You can't give anything.
Can you tell us after the?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you.
He's got to keep something close to the vest.
I'll tell you. I'll happily
10
tell you
years from now.
I'll tell you about it, and you're gonna try to act like you think it's interesting because you're polite.
We are.
But dude, it's like I was gonna say like a cheap shot. I was gonna be like, I'll do anything for my wife.
Some low hanging
But
fruit.
no, like there's a thing I wanna make. It doesn't make a terrible lot of sense, and like at this point I don't even give a shit if anybody watches it or not. But it's so fascinating. I have to find a way to do it.
I love that.
There's not a day goes by. I'm not kidding you. There's
I'm
not
so
a day
curious about it.
goes by. I don't think about how I
Yeah.
want to make a film about it.
I love it. People who go to great lengths to get a Bud Light. I love that you'll go to any measure
Any length.
Mm-hmm.
across the world to make sure that this
But that needs to call us, Steve. Like, whatever it is, we'll be the presenting beer of it.
Yeah, and I'll be like, and just bring me. I'm sure they make one. They need to bring me an NA.
Yeah. No, they got a couple, but Bud NA.
I'm actually want to start a beer company.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit, never mind.
My old man, he's a drinker of Bud NA.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll drink some
The
Bud
NA's never.
I'll kick back with
I've
you,
never
old
had
man.
one.
But
Yeah.
you know what I'm going to turn them on to is I'm going to turn them on to taking that the Bud NA and mixing in a little Zing Zang Bloody Mary mix.
Okay.
You
A little
and your dad.
cocktail.
A little
Because
mocktail.
you know what it is? It's like, because when you quit drinking, it's hard to, like, at night, if you're hanging out and other people are drinking, it's like, you can't just drink water. Because it doesn't, like, but you take that really spicy Bloody Mary. This is a tip for people who quit drinking. Take a NA beer, and then you put really spicy Bloody Mary mix in the NA beer, and you drink it, and it's got like a little burn to it. Scratches the itch.
Like, you get something,
It scratches
walking
the
that
itch.
fine line,
It
as you
helps
said.
you,
I feel
like
you're getting there with everybody
well,
else.
yeah, but I wasn't like that kind of drinker. I wasn't like I wasn't like an AA guy. I just drank too much and wanted to quit.
Mm.
And gradually quit. But yeah, you need that little burn, I find. And that little burn kind of your body's like, there it is.
All right.
It's just tomato juice with black pepper.
I love it.
I did want to ask before you go, being a conservationist, being like someone who's in the outdoors all the time, there's been like a lot of stuff, like obviously, we're not a political podcast. I just really want your thought process on this. I'm not trying to make this any way. And we kind of touched on it yesterday, but there's obviously all this tariff stuff going on with Canada and all the wood and everything. And so Trump's now done this executive order saying, and I don't know the full details. So there's so many different news articles that say it's a terrible thing. It's a great thing. But he's like signed this executive order that says that we have all this wood, like 300 million hectares of land that you can.
He did it about hitting the national forest hard.
Right, hitting it hard to essentially be like, we don't need Canada.
Yeah,
because we have the resources, but the resources is like 33% of our wooded resources. Some people have broken down to me like you need like 10 years for a tree to mature, and the longer they mature, the better the wood is, makes better the homes, makes better quality. So you being in your world that you are, I just want to know, is this like a detrimental thing to America? Is it actually, hey, there's a lot of things we can really clean up in America from a wooded area standpoint? Because it's like, I'm just trying to understand this little game of chess that's going on between our northern, neighbors. and us.
I'll give you like a little high level, my kind of high level thought process on it. And it's quite, it's much more complicated than good, bad, yes, no.
Mm-hmm.
We need, just like, first off, I'm going to clarify. I'm coming at this strictly from like wildlife habitat and like an environmental wildlife habitat perspective. I don't have the home builders wood market seat at the table, right? I'm the wildlife habitat guy. There is a lot of stuff that needs to be cut, and we need to have active timber management. And in a lot of places, we've neglected timber management, and it's detrimental to habitat. A healthy forest, like if you go across most of the country, a healthy forest is a mosaic of stuff that was just recently burned or recently cut, whether from lightning strike fires or whatever. So it's like new growth, medium growth, old growth, right? You need it all, because you want to create habitats that have all these different offerings. And you want to create habitats with a lot of edges, right? Meaning like open areas that abut brushy areas, that abut mature stands, because that way there's a lot more going on. I'm trying to speak in very general terms. There's a lot more going on ecologically, greater diversity of plants, greater diversity of stages of growth. So you have things that are big old trees that are producing mast, that like producing acorns, beech nuts, whatever, from old trees. Young trees that have new growth on them, and that's good for food. You have little thickets for stuff that likes thickets, right? So you want a mixed ecosystem. If we leave everything alone and don't do active land management, because the natural processes aren't there anymore, like we can't just let fires rip, because it destroys property and things and other issues. You got to kind of do a man-made version of how to create these mixed ecosystems. So there's a place for logging. Done right, it can be very advantageous for wildlife in the right areas. What I don't like is I can't support and I can't get behind building new infrastructure, building new roads into our wilderness areas. And I don't mean designated wilderness areas, but areas that are like that aren't industrialized, like natural landscapes that don't have infrastructure in place, that don't have roads built into them. I cannot support a plan to go into those areas and build new roads in order to harvest old growth timber.
Why is that like a?
Because we're gonna run out of it.
Yeah,
we're gonna run out of it. There's like a deal. There's always a deal with the devil that you make on this stuff. You mentioned your wife being from British Columbia. Canada has a reputation, like a little bit of some people hold Canada has a reputation of having a stellar environmental record. In some ways, like the U.S., we've been able to hang on to our old growth coastal rainforests, which there's not that much left. Old growth coastal rainforests, and we've kind of looked and guys in my world will look and be like, man, I can't believe the way BC, British Columbia, has just maintained openness to just keep whacking away at it. And it was kind of like, man, they're going to cut it till it's gone. Right. And meanwhile, we got a lot of coastal old growth rainforest. Like I mentioned, I have a fish shack. Like I have a fish shack at like ground zero of this shit. Tongass National Forest, surrounded by Tongass National Forest. It's a perennial, like political ping pong back and forth is whether or not to build a bunch of new roads in Tongass National Forest to get after the old growth coastal rain. I mean, we're talking 600-700-year-old trees, right? And you look in that Southeast Alaska stuff, you look in BC and they've been hammering it. And they might hammer it to the bitter end. I just like, I think that if you go into the future, I'm very conservative about this. When I say conservative, what I mean is this: when we go into the future, and more of the world is developed and more of the world is industrialized and there's less biodiversity and less wildlife, I think we're going to look at these last bastions of old growth timber and we're going to be like, thank God we protected that stuff. You go look, there's been a lot of talk lately, like some politician in Florida, I think, introduced some bill to put President Trump on Mount Rushmore. They say that rock face isn't even suitable to accommodate a new face up there anyways, but let's just say, let's talk about who one of the guys that is there. Okay. One of the guys that is there is Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, he's a Republican, and Theodore Roosevelt created the National Forest System. Okay. And what he did was he knew that American wildlife was on the way out. Like we, relative to the late 1800s, early 1900s, we live in the good old days of American wildlife. Shit was bad then. Roosevelt came in and he knew that like for American wildlife to thrive, we need a national forest system. We need like big tracts of forest. And he did that. And people didn't want him to do it. And they were pissed at him at the time. Now he's like universally celebrated. Every politician wants to be favorably compared to Roosevelt. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm very cautious about any effort that would undo or subvert those efforts to create these big tracts of nature, these big tracts of wildlife habitat. And I'm just always going to be like, I'm always going to be on the side of preserving our landscapes. And I'll use the term investing in these wilderness landscapes where American wildlife can continue to thrive. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be like very, I'm just going to be on the defensive. I'm going to be on the defense. Right. I'm going to defend wildlife habitat.
It's like guilty before proven innocent with you when it comes to the wildlife habitat. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, what you're saying is because we can't let fires roam free, we need the levels of growth. So cutting down wood is not necessarily bad.
No, and if
taking it another layer, that's when it becomes detrimental to the wildlife environment, human beings, the world we now see as it is today.
So with that executive order, with the right person in place to interpret it, I would be, there's a version in which I'd be like, thank God.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of work we need to be doing for like wildfire work, wildfire reduction, habitat improvement, thinning. I'd be like, great. If with the right person on the ground implementing it, I could get excited about it. With the wrong person on the ground implementing it, I could get fearful of it. Mm-hmm. And right now it's a little early to tell, but yeah, with the right people executing it, I could think that it would be like net positive, or it could be people doing it and I'll wind up being like upset about it.
Now, hypothetical question for you. Let's say you're sitting in your office later this afternoon. There's a call. Your secretary walks in. She goes, Steve, the president is on the phone. You answer that phone. It's Trump. He says, tells you how great you are, how amazing you are. Everything's going so great in your life. Mm-hmm. But he wants you to be the guy to interpret this executive order. What do you say to that question?
I would say yes. And then I would promptly call a couple friends of mine, and I would say, you guys need to do this because you understand it better than me, and I need to act like I'm in charge.
Smart man. Smart man. I love it. Was it delegate to elevate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. That's good. I do appreciate you breaking that down a little bit, because it is so interesting, like this whole, like the political landscape we live in now, because a lot of things he's doing, people are like, well, this is what everybody wanted. But there's so much going on that's hard for me to follow the bouncing ball. And I do my best to kind of follow along, because it is so interesting to me. But when I saw that, my brain goes to, it's probably not as bad as it is, because I'm not a pessimist. I'm very positive about best case scenario is usually going to work out. My wife, on the other hand, being from British Columbia, not knowing the nugget that they're actually killing their forest up there, I'll have to bring that up at our next family meeting. But she is huge into wilderness. Her whole family, her mom is known as the fishing queen in her town, because she's she can just rip any lip around there. So she's obviously worried and concerned. And I was like, well, I'm going to be with MeatEater next week. What a perfect individual to talk to it about.
Yeah.
Because it is very interesting, and just trying to understand all the nuances of kind of like you were saying, like, how do you interpret these executive orders as opposed to just reading them at face value and just assuming it's a blank canvas?
Yeah. Here's the main rub. You got a second?
I got a moment.
Here's kind of the main
canvas
rub.
our flight.
What time is it?
I don't know exactly when the flight is, but I know we're getting.
We'll end on this.
This will be very quick. This will be very quick. My problem with the administration so far when it comes to natural resources issues and public lands issues is I would like I understand some of the things that they need to do. I think that they're taking a pretty ham-handed approach, and a lot of the Doge stuff has been coming. A lot of the Doge stuff has been decisions being made by people who have no understanding of what they're toying with. And I think that a better approach is get your cabinet heads in, get your administration people in, and let people make decisions at a more expert level. The same way you read about Rubio's conflict with Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Where like Rubio's like, I'm Secretary of State. Let me go into my like portfolio of interests and identify the cuts. That's my world, right? I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like a little possessiveness on some of the stuff with like Forest Service issues, Bureau of Land Management issues, logging issues, whatever, Public Lands Administration, layoffs and all that. Get the right agency people in place. Let them know what they need to do. Give them a minute to go and have like a more fine-tuned expert opinion on where we find room for cuts, and don't just start cutting shit that you don't understand. Because someone else is going to go in there and be able to do it without throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
And they've thrown in the area that I'm informed on, which is like natural resources issues. They've thrown a shitload of babies out. And now you're going to watch people come in, and they're going to come in, they're going to be like dragging those fucking babies back,
right?
Picking those babies back up and putting them in. And it just, it creates a mess.
Yeah.
And they will, like the babies will get picked back up, and it'll kind of be like, well, why don't we just do this in a more thoughtful way anyways? Because they're already like, oh my God, they got rid of what?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's causing a headache.
Yeah.
No
doubt. I just think that I'm not the only person to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an intention to go and do something. And I think that it was just like, I think the intention kind of ran away with itself for a minute.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of, I think now there's going to be like a lot of corrections are going to need to take place.
Right.
Yeah. That is, I mean, that's just a whole nother hour of a podcast. We could absolutely
Sure.
do. We
different show too.
Different show.
And I'd probably have someone different than me talk to you about.
Yeah. Hey,
I delegate.
Last time was awesome, dude. Shooting ducks with you. This time, just as much fun. Like the trapping portion, obviously we didn't get a coyote, but like
it's good that
the
we didn't get
process.
one. You can't be
gotta
like,
humble.
hey, we're going on a meat eater hunt.
Gotta
Like
be
it's going to
humble.
be right out in front of you.
Right.
Like that's hunting.
But we appreciate like not just you, but your entire crew, like the hospitality, the way you guys treat us, like everything's first class here. So thank you so much. For
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming out. I look forward to hanging again.
Yeah,
Can't wait
man.
next year.
Steve, you're the
Bears.
man, bro. Thank you.